bando, I'll be back on the first. Don't get close, no, I won't get hurt. Run up with a frown, walk off with a smirk. I ain't put it down, front to the nurse. Shorty got bands, tell me what is yours worth. Mine for the block, came straight from the dirt. Take her up the ends, move to the bird. Got coke, got cat, got perks. Got beef, rap, bullets that hurt. Hands over bread like Sesame Seed, big bird on the block, Sesame Street. Whip, 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 turn a chip to a treat. I don't got friends, man, I only got feet. Capping is dead, chasing is back, 40s and 50s. We want a match.
There's a fun for people to get help with. I didn't even get 3 minutes into the video before they cut it off. Anything I put the word black in the title, you don't see it. Go search my channel for the word black. All the videos gone.
46-year-old, he says Floyd was like a father to him.
Sama is the first medicine given by creator. It has Tuscarora, half-breed nigger-loverz means hemp gatherers from
being loving and caring, and somebody I can count on no matter what.
They're up here now 5 nations to the 6 nations.
Civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, is up now speaking, eulogizing the 46-year-old George Floyd, and sanctuary normally seats 1,000, but because of the COVID-19 outbreak, the capacity has been reduced to about 500. From Martino, 680 News.
Meantime, three fire police
officers charged with aiding and abetting in the death of George Floyd appeared in court for the first time. The former officers are charged with aiding and abetting officers. That led to his death. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison tells ABC's Good Morning America to win the cases, they'll have to prove that those officers helped.
You can look at the tape and see who's sitting where and see the assistance that was given, meaningful and important assistance to what Chauvin was doing. And so we believe that, and we can also see what was not done.
He admits convicting cops is a challenge, but says he's confident in their case. Ryan Burrow, ABC News, Minneapolis.
680 News Time, 3:37. The city of Toronto has unveiled a new program designed to help the restaurant and bar industries get back on their feet. This as the province announces it will soon let short-term rentals like cottages and condos resume operations. Here's 680 Stuart begin.
The city's new program comes without the typical patio fees and aims to help restaurants and bars get back on their feet. Cafe Tio is a quick start program that will make it easier for restaurant and bar owners to open patios, to expand patios, and to access additional space for physical distancing. The mayor says announcing this now allows these facilities to be ready to open whenever the province allows them to. And while that timeline is still unclear, John Tory hinted right around Canada Day could be achievable. Meanwhile, at the provincial level, as of midnight, short-term rentals will once again be permitted for homes, B&B, and cottages. All of this comes on a day where new cases held steady at 356. There were 45 new deaths in the province, but we surpassed our daily testing goal, completing nearly 21,000 swabs for COVID-19. I'm Stuart McGinn, 680 News Time, 3:38. Following some breaking news from the NBA this afternoon, our defending champion Toronto Raptors will return to the court next month. Alex Sixero from Sportsnet 590 The Fan with what you need to know. Well, the Portland Trailblazers were the only team to vote no, as this afternoon the NBA Board of Governors, by a vote of 29-1, approved a plan to restart the season. Now, 22 teams will embark on Disney World in Orlando, and the season is going to run from July the 31st to October the 12th. Each team will take part in 8 regular season games. That'll help determine playoff seeding. And when things do resume, the Raptors will have a 3-game lead over the Celtics for second place in the Eastern Conference. There could also be a play-in tournament to decide who's the 8th seed in both the East and the West. Sounds like teams are going to begin training at the Disney complex around July the 9th, and there will be daily testing available for players and coaching staffs. Only thing left to do is for the players to vote yes on the plan, and that is expected when they hold a conference call tomorrow. From Sportsnet 590 The Fan, I'm Alex Sixero.
This is 680 News. Job cuts are on the way at Bombardier. 680's Richard Southern reports.
The company says it's temporarily laying off 196 employees here in the GTA, working on Bombardier's transit services, building trains for GO Transit and for the Union Pearson Express. Bombardier says the job cuts in the world 21st amount to about 20% of its workforce. Bombardier points out that
$44 to get a limo, or you can spend $38 to take the goddamn subway and train.
In the amount of trains and services and that regional transit authorities need.
Richard Southern, 680 News. Well, turns out Sin City is now reopening as casinos and hotels are allowed to operate again, but like
you're all just copying what Ontario's doing. Going to work, Ontario did. You guys
go to play today, you'll be in a sort of plexiglass bubble away from other players and the dealer.
We have put plexiglass in at each of our table games, especially with blackjack.
Hand washing stations are set up on the casino floor, and there is less physical interaction with the staff. Las Vegas says despite the challenges of COVID-19 and now protests, the demand has been higher than expected. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Now the 680 News gas price update. APRO predicts the price will not change at midnight, staying at 97.9 cents a liter.
680 News time, 3:40. Helping you navigate our new world.
And looking forward to when life resumes.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day. This is 680 News.
How much money would you like to say? Et quel est le poids réel de l'activisme virtuel? Marjorie April de la de Matin Pareil en a parlé avec Martine Saint-Victor, chroniqueuse et stratège en communication. Elle lui a d'abord demandé si, selon elle, l'activisme virtuel qu'on a vu ces derniers temps aura un véritable impact à long terme.
Je prends l'exemple de certaines marques qui déjà ont pris des actions concrètes. Je vais prendre l'exemple de la marque canadienne Aldo. Oui. Et Aldo a décidé a pris certaines actions. Par exemple, ils offrent de payer les frais légaux des employés qui se sont arrêtés dans les manifestations. Ils ont décidé d'instaurer une ligne téléphonique où les employés peuvent dénoncer des actes d'injustice et de racisme à l'intérieur de l'entreprise, un espèce de safe space si on veut. Ils ont décidé de monter des ateliers justement de sensibilisation et d'éducation. Voilà une marque qui s'est prononcée, mais aussi qui a pris le temps de se poser la question, nous, en tant qu'entreprise, qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire dans notre propre milieu, dans notre propre environnement. Et je pense que ce n'est pas la seule entreprise qui est en train de faire cet exercice de réflexion. Et c'est à ce niveau-là qu'on va voir, en fait, les dominos se placer pour qu'il y ait de vrais changements à moyen terme, à long terme et sur une plus grande échelle.
Parce que ce que vous dites par opposition à ceux qui prennent des mesures réelles, c'est qu'il y a aussi de l'activisme vide ou même pire de la récupération commerciale d'un mouvement, ça peut arriver aussi.
Je pense que
so the NDP says Doug Ford is racist because they don't like how he was trying to compare. He was trying to explain the difference between Ontario and the United States, and you know, the sound they're not that easy. Oh, he said there was never any racism in Canada. You know, that's not what he said.
You'll see the mold of to approach Eglinton. This is in the area bounded by Parkside to Lansdowne and from Lakeshore to Bloor. So lots of traffic lights are out in that area. Download hockey's favorite podcast, The Suspendables, and celebrate episode number 50 with Jim Jerome, Russ Courtnall, and special guest Wayne Gretzky. And now with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
Thanks, Gary. And the temperature is still quite warm right now. We are seeing some more clouds in the GTA.
Remember, it's down here. The power's out all the way to the water. It's a kilometer from here to Bloor, and then that's 5 kilometers down. Approximately that way from First Parkside. A couple of kilometers, what, 2-3 kilometers by 5 or 6 kilometer stretch here, just out of power. What?
Feeling like 32. We've reached your guaranteed high of 28.
680 News time, 3:45.
Now let's go to Trade Market Minute live from the Business Center. Here's Richard Southern.
Right, so.
Richard, are you there?
You can hear me? I'm right here.
Thank you, Sarah. Coming up on the last 15 minutes of trade here, and exchanges are marginally lower. Hey, Sarah, you got me?
This is Rogers Internet, how reliable it is. For their own radio station, it's gone out twice today. Just believe it.
On Wall Street, it's
all right, problem, sure. But I'm using free shit that I'm not expecting to work perfectly all the fucking time, man.
4 points right now, 26,185. S&P's down 0.6%. The Nasdaq down 92 points.
Considering how shit for their people.
$73.99 US. That's
your
market.
Everything's riding on this.
Direct invest with Scotia iTrade. Get started in 3 easy steps and begin your investing journey from home today. Learn more at scotiaitrade.com.
Scott Weller, General Manager at Volvo of Toronto, invites you to make this summer the summer of Volvo. Great news. Volvo of Toronto is waiving the first 3 payments when you lease select in-stock 2020 models, including the XC90. The perfect blend of beauty, performance, and technology. Or save an additional $1,000 when you finance or pay cash. And remember, Volvo of Toronto is here for you with
When you
exceptional
finance
service
or
even
pay
in
cash, okay,
difficult
that's like
times. Visit Volvo of
you do
Toronto
business with us.
downtown near Cherry and Front, or
Is there a way to do business with you where I don't pay you anything? Like I'm either gonna finance or pay cash, right? Like,
good workout.
can I get a free? That was Volvo, right? Can I get a free? But like, I'm not a Volvo guy, really. But I'm not a free Volvo. You push a Volvo, bro. What's with this Volvo? Because it's free, bro. Fuck up. You want to pay for the bus? Shut up.
And our stores are now open. Or shop our amazing deals online.
No, they don't give you no free Volvo.
Sleep Country.
It's a service charge if you finance or pay cash. There's a service charge.
This is all News Radio.
The options are there. Well, you can finance or you can pay cash. That's your
A
option.
mix of sun and cloud in downtown Toronto. It is 29 degrees. Good afternoon from the 680 News Broadcast Center. I'm Sarah Parrott.
And I'm Steve.
Whoa.
Town stories right now.
The province has announced the creation of a new advisory council to provide advice on how young people can overcome social and economic barriers and achieve success. Ontario also pledging today to invest $1.5 million to help support Black communities impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Mayor John Tory unveiling a planned ATO that will see patios expanded to sidewalks and curb lanes in the city, allowing for more physical distancing. This plan will come to
What's the
effect
official population? 2.8 million in the city of Toronto?
It comes as the
If I said there was 1.5 million black people, how far off would I be? How far off would I be?
resume operations.
Oh, I know. Take what you can get, right? I know. Because I'm Afro-Dutch and Scottish.
All right, Sarah, the NBA Board of Governors by a vote of 29-1 have approved the summer plan for a 22-team restart at the Disney Complex in Orlando.
I'm going to run my own Democratic Party
teams
to take over the
and
whole
9 from the
fucking
East
party.
will take part, with the season starting up on the 31st of July. We've also learned that the draft lottery has been set for August the 25th. The draft itself will run October 15th, and the NBA is planning
You
to
guys know
start
something
next
about
season
epidemics
on
that I don't
December
know?
the
Like,
1st.
is this
Meantime,
someone
the
being an
NHL
athlete
has
to do a
announced more
special
details on their return to play
heads up or
format.
something?
The Stanley Cup playoffs will
By the
not
way,
be
there's a
bracketed. There
horrible
will
cheese
be
going around. This is how
reseeding
you
for
know
each
it's really
round.
about to
While
end. They
each
won't tell
round of the
everybody else.
playoffs will remain a best-of-7 series,
Because
and
you're
the
the
play-in
MVP.
round for when the Leafs take on the Blue Jackets will be a best-of-5. Drew Brees has issued an apology for comments on disrespecting the flag, saying he completely missed the mark. On Wednesday, Brees said he will never agree with anybody taking a knee during the American anthem. The Saints quarterback says his words lacked awareness. And the National Lacrosse League has officially canceled the playoffs, thus putting a bow on the season. The NLL says they are now focusing efforts on the 2020-2021 campaign.
My words lack awareness.
15 and 45 past every hour, or anytime
We can
at
agree there.
sportsnet.ca/590.
Your words are the problem. You lacking awareness. See, I know I picked that apart.
Hey, stuff happens. And when you need money now,
That's it for the sports.
right now, there's prudentfinancial.net.
If you need money in a hurry, prudentfinancial.net. Get money quick, just one click. Prudentfinancial.net.
Rates are way cheaper than a payday loan, and they help to improve your credit score. When you own your car or home, get a loan up to $50,000 fast.
Prudentfinancial.net.
Looking for non-medical face masks? FactoryDirect.ca has one of the best selections of non-medical masks at some of the lowest prices in Canada. From disposable, washable, printed, camo, cotton, or your favorite color. For the face mask to fit your budget and style. Plus, FactoryDirect.ca
I go into the store. It's a hood store. They have a beef patty oven thing. And this time we had beef patty. Great. Let's do it. I grabbed both of them.
The products you need today. 680 News Time.
One wrapper. One receipt. I'm saving 2 pieces of paper just by grabbing 2 at once.
The gunman who killed 22 people in one of Canada's worst mass killings. Superintendent Darren Campbell shared some of the findings of RCMP profilers and an RCMP forensic psychologist who have provided a psychological autopsy of the shooter.
The gunman was described as what is called an injustice collector, one who held on to conflict or differences with others. turning them inwards until they boiled over in rage. Some recipients of his wrath of violence were targeted for perceived injustices of the past. Others were reactive targets of his rage, and some were just random targets.
Campbell says we may never fully understand why the gunman did what he did.
Why
Police
is not a
confirming 3 of the 5 firearms in his possession have been obtained illegally in the United
Why don't matter, because in his head could have been nothing. Could have been a blown up fucking blood vessel that did this.
Taken from
You hate the guy all you want. Oh, he's going to hell, whatever. At the end of the day, what the fuck happened?
With the suspect.
The police completely failed. And open fire on the fire station after telling the people, go to this fire station, you'll be safe.
In some communities, the state of Texas is going
Shoot
ahead
at it.
with the
No,
next
the guy
phase
was
of
not
its
there. He was never
reopening.
anywhere near the place.
Bars around Texas can
Ever.
raise their occupancy to 50% of their legal capacity. Restaurants will be able to seat 10 people at a table, up from 6. And those customers will notice some differences.
Every tabletop has a QR code.
Kyle Noonan owns a restaurant in Dallas.
You sit down at the table, you scan your cell phone on the QR code, and the menu pops up on
Let
your
me
cell
ask
phone.
you, so I ain't got no goddamn government, Chinese, Korean spy phone in my pocket. God damn it. I'm going to pull out a 1911 and a high point.
Weather together on the one.
You ask you to pick which one. You want to
This report is brought to you by City TV.
I got me a clock, dog. It's about to go dang. Watch. You
Be
take
careful in the 2
your
right lanes.
6
We have tire
meters,
debris,
2
MTO
feet,
cruiser
whatever,
on their
now.
way. And then westbound on the 401 across the city, heavy delays from the Allen and the Express, and from Kiel and the Collectors to Islington. Westbound 401 at Islington and the Express. The left lane is blocked because of a collision, so it's especially heavy in those express lanes.
This is the mango smelling OG. How the fuck you make it smell like mango? You put like
Expect delays from Mississauga
mango
Road to
peels,
Mavis, again from the
mango pieces
427
in
to
the
the
dirt or
400 Express and Collectors,
It's
and
not
still
like-
going approaching the Allen, alternately Express and
There's a
Collectors.
big wet chunk of mango in the back. You're
Southbound
good.
on the Allen, approaching Eglinton, the right lane is blocked because of a collision. Tow trucks, emergency crews are on the scene, and it's backed up southbound on the Allen from just south of Glen Cairn to Eglinton. It's just before Eglinton. And also on city streets, we have a power outage reported in the Parkdale area. So this is affecting a number of traffic lights in the Parkside to Lansdowne and Lakeshore to Bloor section. So treat all of those affected intersections accordingly. Back to the major routes. If you're heading out of downtown, westbound on the Gardner, it's slow going from the BDP to west of Strawn. Westbound QEW, a minor delay through Winston Churchill.
This green shit
Just
is
west of
that part.
Winston
This is
Churchill, the left
Parkside.
lane is closed for construction.
Bloor.
And busy sections westbound QEW from Bronte to
Lansdowne's
west
the
of
blue line.
Wildline.
That's nothing.
Toronto bound on the
Lansdowne's it.
QEW, approaching the
All
Burlington
in, all
Skyway.
this,
The 2 left
all
lanes are
of
closed
this,
for road work. It's
all
jammed
of
from
this.
just past Nikola Tesla.
I'm looking like my
FTU
cousin.
reporting a new problem on the northbound
walking
404
the
near
entire
Stouffville Road.
page,
The right
man.
lane is
Just
blocked
walk
with a
the
stone
whole
vehicle. Get the latest news affecting our community every night on City News at 6 and 11, only on City TV. And now with the forecast,
1, 2,
here's
3
Carl Lamb.
kilometers by 6
And it
kilometers.
is a really warm one as we head into the tail end of the week. So tonight, the evening
2 by
temperature
at
around
least
24, 16 during the overnight. We'll get into some clearing as well for tomorrow. 29, feeling like 36. So another humid day. Some sunshine for the first part, and then some rain for the second part. We could have some thunderstorms move through, as well as a cold front sweeps through. Once it does, it changes the wind direction as well and makes for a cool weekend. Our high temperature on Saturday, 23 with sun and cloud, and then Sunday, sunny and cooler, just a high of 20 degrees. Right now, 30 at Pearson, 28 in downtown Toronto. Tonight's overnight low, 16.
This extended forecast is brought to you by Concord Trailer Rental. Concord Trailer Rental is supporting increased demand with flatbeds and rental trailers for pickup or delivery. Visit them Monday through Saturday or online anytime at Concord Trailer Rental.
Then he was gonna make the joke about the spots and the black spots and the lights and lights.
Being a new mom isn't easy. But hugging's easy.
Oh, we can laugh at it. You can't laugh at us, but we can make jokes about the spots and
Simply apply
looking
just
pretty
one
pale there,
drop
little
of
girl. Yeah, you
ABCs.
too.
There's no taste, so it doesn't interfere with
See, that's
aging.
you, I see you.
Pediatricians recommend vitamin D daily.
You don't get to make those jokes. You get to laugh at our jokes.
D drops, the sunshine
You
vitamin,
catch
and
us
just
making
one
them.
drop.
680 News Time, 354.
680 News Time, yes, 354.
Well,
The pandemic and crosstown LRT construction combined has made doing business on Eglinton West difficult. But help is on the way for the neighborhood known as Little Jamaica. The area is home to the highest concentration of Black and Caribbean-owned businesses, and they're trying to get a boost from the Black Business and Professional Association in partnership with the city's Economic Development Department. They're leading a community development initiative to help businesses survive and grow after this pandemic is over. It includes a new website, www.thelittljamaica.com. Mayor Tory calls Little Jamaica the heart and soul of Eglinton West. That is an important part of Black history in the city, and as such, it's an important part of our shared history.
Oh, white girls say some horrible things sometimes, don't they, when they think you're white? They say some horrible things sometimes.
There are nearly 50 vacant storefronts. Coming up in 60 seconds, Richard Southern has your business report.
680 News Time, 355. Hey, Canada, we need a reason to smile. Help celebrate the longest day of smiles and deliver free surgeries to children in developing countries born with heart conditions. Make a $10 donation right now by texting SMILE to 45678 or visit operationsmile.ca today.
Because I never got
waiting child get the smile they so deserve.
I would have waited till I did, and then told her in the morning. Let her sit on that.
Don't text and drive.
If you've got conference calls scheduled between serving lunch, teaching, and working out, we get it. We can't help with everything, but we can make sure your family is protected. RBC Insurance is here to help you get it. Book an insurance check-in at rbcinsurance.com/check-in.
680 News Time, 356.
Now the 680 News Business Report. Here's Richard Southern.
Sarah, it's National Cheese Day. Happy National Cheese Day to you, Sarah.
Ce n'est pas le jour national du fromage.
And certainly Canadians are celebrating this one because research shows the average Canadian gobbles up 30 pounds of cheese every year. Research finds that cheese consumption in this country has been steadily on the rise since the 1980s. As far as what our favorite cheese is, cheddar comes out on top, no surprise there, followed by mozzarella. Canada also makes a lot of cheese. Producers trying to get 1,500 different varieties.
Work. It worked. They donated the cheese. All us dumb bastards grew up and go, oh, damn, that's some good cheese. Got to use some government cheese. That's the same, the mozzarella cheese in the...
Saputo saw earnings fall in its most recent quarter, missing expectations. It says the COVID-19 pandemic caused a bit of a shift in consumer demand. Profit totaling
Justin threw out 30,000 liters of milk.
Down from 124
and I kept going to go try to buy milk and I couldn't buy milk.
Stock in the company is down 2.5% at $32.94.
Should have been stacked up in a pyramid. Well, cube.
All right, coming up here on the end of the trading day.
If we all died and the economy collapsed, and any of our kids survived, years from now, decades from now, they go, oh, shit, this is like 2021.
It is down 60 points right now. Still
and they wouldn't die.
5,100 point mark.
No, you people got to
on Wall Street, it's looking a little bit better than it has been, but we're down a couple of points here for the main benchmarks. The Dow's lower by 14 at 26,255. SP 500 down 0.4%. NASDAQ down 76 points. We had some disappointing employment news coming out of the States today. That's really keeping a cap on some of the bottom. Price for gold is higher. It's up more than 70 bucks to 1,722 U.S. dollars. The ounce oil trading above 37 bucks per barrel. The shares in Boeing
whoever owns it decided
higher on news.
It's going to be in the background some of the goddamn music videos
to their summer schedules. Boeing's up more than 7% right now. Canadian dollar's been on a huge tear, up 6 full cents since late March. Right now, though, the loonie down a few 1/100ths of a cent, trading at 73.99 cents U.S. All right, all the day's need-to-know top stories, and there's a lot of them, and they're only 60 seconds away right here on 680 News.
God damn it!
Renovators, how good they're feeling about getting outside this spring.
I bought U.S. dollars.
Look at my smile.
And my Canadian dollars down 68 cents U.S. for each one.
Look at my smile.
No, they can't.
Every day you got to make a cut off Forex.
You come on the vibe.
Those numbers they give you aren't the whole story. There's a cut on each side of it. Those people got to make a profit. There's no point in trading money.
Backyard projects at Rona.ca. Do more at home, outside. Conditions apply.
Ontario, you're making a difference to keep people safe from COVID-19. And we all need to continue our efforts to protect each other.
Money. I know, because I'm a money
if you're worried you may have COVID-19 or have been exposed to the virus. Practice physical distancing. Stay 2 meters apart. Wear a face covering when physical distancing is a challenge. And continue to wash hands
These are all
frequently.
foreign exchange transactions, which means I'm not allowed to do this anywhere near a church. You know they're both safe because Jesus
Learn more
locked
at
up for the goddamn shit.
Ontario.ca/coronavirus. Paid for by the government of Ontario.
Now, 680 News regional weather conditions for ExploreNet Internet. Accelerate your internet with ExploreNet LTE service. Now with unlimited data. Visit explorenet.com for details.
Oakville sunny, 31 degrees, in Pickering partly cloudy and 24. Downtown Toronto partly cloudy, 28 degrees. The News Watch never stops. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. It's 4 o'clock.
#1 for news in Toronto. This is 680 News.
Here are Steve Roberts and Sarah Barrett.
Southside, get close, we get close, we get Southside. We get close, we ride it. Get close, we get close, we ride it.
Ford unveils a new council on equality. The leader of that council says no, it's not because racism.
Do not wait for CNN to tell us that there is a problem.
Friends, family members, and dignitaries gathered in Minneapolis to say goddbye to George Floyd.
And you know, my uncles were more of a father figure in my life.
This is just one of many memorial services planned for the 46-year-old who died in police custody.
A new city program is helping restaurants open and expand their patios while the province lifts restrictions on short-term rentals. Progress in the fight against COVID-19, but we're not out of the woods yet. Federal modeling shows Ontario and Quebec remain hotspots for transmission, and if we relax measures too much, we risk a dramatic second wave. It's a yes from the Board of Governors as the
I don't want to talk to all that.
closer to resuming
No, I don't want to talk to all that.
Decides on some formatting items. Sports at 15.
End of a trading day, and it's a money loser. The
Oh,
TSX
trading
falling
day.
52
Hey,
points.
this movie first.
S&P down 10. Business at 26.
Undercover
680
OSC
News time,
officials.
4:01.
And now time for traffic and weather together on the lines. Checking that drive.
Ended up just snorting lines of coke.
Good afternoon. We've got now a trouble-free drive on the westbound
Make
401.
someone's goddamn money to
Clear.
forget
We
that
have
they're
that
OSC.
tire debris plus a stone transport on the shoulder on the west 401 west to the 412. That situation's been dealt with. The tire debris anyway, still may find activity on the shoulder, but the minor delay that was being caused here is eased off. It is still heavy across the city, starting from the Allen in the Express and approaching Toronto and the collectors over towards Islington. Problems at that point in the Express have also cleared. And then just volume delays into Mississauga, approaching Huron-Ontario collectors to west of Mavis. If you're on your way eastbound to the 401, it remains trouble-free. Volume, though, Mississauga Road to Mavis, 427 to the 400 Express and collectors. And then Keel, alternately Express and collectors to Leslie. More delays approaching Westney to east of Salem. You'll find it busy out of downtown and the North Don Valley from Gerrard to York Mills, 404 volume, 407 to north of 16th Avenue. Normally that's where it would end, but we have a problem north of Stillwell Road. The right lane is blocked with a stalled vehicle, so it is getting heavy here on the approach north of Stillwell Road for about 1.5 kilometers worth of slow traffic or so. The westbound guard is slow from the DVP to west of Stirling. Right? There's a minor delay in the West QEW through Winston Churchill, where the left lane's blocked for construction. It's heavy on the Toronto-bound QEW over the Burlington Skyway. We have 2 left lanes blocked here for construction.
Always leave them one
we've
more, right?
finally had that power outage in the area bounded by Parkside to Lansdowne and from the Lakeshore to Bloor. That's all been sorted out, so traffic lights in that area should be working once again. There's a collision southbound on the Allen approaching Eglinton. The right lane is still blocked by crews, so it's quite heavy southbound Allen. Down from south of Lawrence towards Eglinton. Your next report at 4:11, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
And temperatures right now still hanging on to 30 degrees, and we will start to drop as we head into the evening. A few more clouds rolling in. 24 is the evening temperature, 16 is the overnight low, and then it's more humid for tomorrow, and the chance for some more widespread rain moves in. Right now, 30 at Pearson, feels like 32. Tonight's overnight low, 16.
680 News time, 4:03.
The Ford government has pledged to support Ontario's Black communities recover from the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. The province also creating a new council that will help vulnerable youth.
680's Mark Douglas joins us live with more on the Premier's announcement today. Mark.
Sarah, it's called the Council on Equality of Opportunity. Premier Doug Ford announcing that council today, and with it, $1.5 million in funding for organizations that support Black families and youth. Chair of the council
now. Know this. Indians and black people both know that there's always somebody standing up to collect money on our behalf. It's like Jesus. Everybody wants to collect money on behalf of Jesus. Jesus come by my door to get that money. I'll give it to him. He shows up. Jesus, you might help you out. Throw some weed, cigarette leaves. These niggas ain't gonna give you shit, are they? No. But these niggas keep coming to me, telling me that the money's for you. You ain't telling me you were sending nobody. Yeah, so if my phone rings and it's Jesus, he's hey, I'm sending you some money. If somebody comes and it's looks legit, maybe I'll get Jesus money. That guy, I doubt.
And the premier denies any connection in the timing of this announcement. Pardon me, the premier denies any connection in the timing of this announcement to the controversy.
He said pardon me when the recording's playing over top of him, eh?
Deep-rooted systemic racism like the U.S. does. The council's immediate mandate is to support vulnerable and marginalized youth recover from the effects of COVID-19. Chair of the Opposition NDP's Black Caucus, MPP Laura May Lindo, says after all the funding cuts for anti-racism programs and resources from Doug Ford, all this today is a slap in the face to black communities. Reporting live, I'm Mark Douglas.
Fuck you, bitch.
680 News Time 405. Voters have gathered in Minneapolis this afternoon to say goodbye to George Floyd. It's the first in a series of memorials for Floyd, whose death in police custody has sparked protests in the U.S. and around the world. And 680's Phil Martino joining us live now with more on today's memorial. Phil.
Well, members of George Floyd's family, friends, and other mourners are celebrating his life inside a sanctuary at North Central University. His nephew, Brandon Williams, says he's among those eulogizing the 46-year-old.
Growing up, I'm a lot younger than them, but my grandmother raised me. I didn't have a father figure present in my life, so I grew up in the same house with them. And, my uncles were more of a father figure in my life.
200's duty-free, 201 is smuggling and tax evasion.
I gravitated to him. Coming up, I played sports. He did. That kind of connected us, brought us real close.
Civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, talked about the last moments of Floyd's life. He says he was calling for his mother.
One of his 5 children, Quincy, said, I was thinking maybe he was calling his mother. Because at the point that he was dying, his mother was stretching her hands out, saying, come on, George. I'll welcome you where the wicked will cease from troubling.
Memorials are set to take place in 3 cities over 6 days. After the Minneapolis event, Floyd's body will go to Rayford, North Carolina, where he was born, for a public viewing and private family service on Saturday. A public viewing will be held Monday in Houston, where he was raised and lived most of his life. And the service will take place Tuesday at the Fountain of Praise Church. Phil Martino, 680 News. Meantime, we have an update on the George Floyd case. The 3 fired police officers charged with aiding and abetting in the death of Floyd appeared in court for the first time. All 3 appearing separately before a judge who admitted he was hard-pressed to come up with comparisons in the case. The attorneys for the fired officers brought up their service to the community, their condolences to the Floyd family, and efforts to help Floyd when he lost consciousness during the arrest. The judge setting bail for each at $1 million or $750,000 with conditions.
First one they sell.
Right now in Oakville, hundreds of people have taken to the streets in a Black Lives Matter march in downtown Oakville. Now saying that there were about 300 people at the march this afternoon. It's taking place in solidarity with demonstrations across the globe in the wake of George Floyd's death. And stay with 680 News for more on this developing story.
I am Eric Garner.
408. Ontario is reporting 356 new cases of COVID-19 today, a small bump over the previous day. It comes as the city of Toronto reveals a plan to let restaurants and bars expand their patios once approval to open is granted. The province also making a big announcement about cottages just in time for summer. Here's our Stuart McGinn.
Cafe TO, that's the name of the new program promoting restaurants and bars to open or expand their existing patios onto streets and sidewalks.
We want to make sure the city and that the individual bar and restaurant owners are ready to proceed with these expansions
expanded patio offerings just as soon as we're able to do so. Mayor John Tory says these patios will come without the usual city fees, adding there's been progress made with the Ford government on cutting red tape around liquor laws to make this easier.
We've had to be engaged in active discussions with the province, and those are largely resolved.
When all this will happen, still unknown. The Ford government saying within the next week they'll have a timeline on regional reopening and entering stage 2, but more restrictions are lifting as of midnight, allowing short-term rentals for things like cottages, homes, and B&Bs to operate as normal. I'm Stuart McGinn.
You're listening to 680 News. Following some breaking news from the NBA this afternoon, where professional basketball one step closer to returning.
Well, the plan is not official just yet because the players will hold a vote tomorrow. But today, the NBA Board of Governors voted 29-1 on resuming the season this summer. 22 teams will head to Orlando in the Disney complex with play resuming July 31st. And each team will play 8 regular season games to determine playoff seeding. It's reported that teams are going to begin training camps in their own cities around June 30th, and then they will take their camps and move them to Orlando about a week later. But with the border issues we're having in Canada, the Raptors may just meet in Orlando and start camp there. Other info we learned today, the season will conclude October 12th at the latest. The draft will run on the 15th. Free agency starts on the 18th. And next season is tentatively set to begin on December the 1st. From Sportsnet 590 The Fan, I'm Alex Xero.
Now the 680 News gas price update. Enpro predicts the price will not change at midnight, staying at 97.9 cents a liter.
Your home is your sanctuary. The hot weather meets your air conditioner needs. If you need repairs or replacements, Reliance Home Comfort answers your call 24/7. We're taking every precaution to keep you safe, and we're ready to help with deferred payments and no interest for 18 months on featured air conditioners. And, as always, you can count on our next-day installation guarantee. When you need air conditioner help now, financing OAC, interest accrues from
it's yellow. It's not going to tell us the truth.
See website for details.
Can't tell. I'm sweating.
680 News Time, 4:11.
Time now for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Kyle Hawking.
And this report brought to you by HEMRenovations.com. A new problem on the northbound Don Valley Parkway. It's right near Spanbridge Road, which is as you approach Eglinton. The left lane is blocked with a collision. Tow trucks on the scene, and it's heavy here from Gerard to approaching Eglinton, right by Spanbridge, where that left lane is blocked. And then past that point, volume thinning out as everybody's being trapped behind this, but it is still busy from just north of Eglinton up towards York Mills once again with volume. More delays 407 to north of 16th Avenue, once you're up onto the 404.
Just trying to get
and
home.
then it's heavy from Stillville Road to north of it for a stretch. We've got the right lane blocked north of Stillville Road with another stalled vehicle, so that's causing a jam up here. On the westbound Gardner, just volume, DVP to west of Strawn, so there's plenty of it. And then a minor delay on the west QEW through Winston Churchill. Left lane is blocked there for construction. As you head further along, expect some volume into the Burlington area. It's not too bad, but minor delays approaching Burloak to west of Guelph line. If you're heading Toronto bound on the QEW, on your way over the Burlington Skyway, we have construction blocking 2 left lanes. So it looks heavy from beyond Nikola Tesla to about the top of the Skyway. We have volume delays just on the 401. If you're traveling eastbound, it's Small Mississauga Road to Mavis, 427 to the 400 Express and Collectors, Heel Express approaching Young Collectors to Leslie, and approaching Westney to east of Salem. Westbound 401 also trouble-free, heavy Allen, all 3 lanes Express and Collectors to Dixon, and approaching here Ontario Collectors to west of Mavis. There is a problem on the Allen, southbound Allen approaching Eglinton at the bottom end. Right lane still blocked with a crash, so slow from south of Lawrence on your approach. HEM can turn your bathroom into a beautiful space for just $290 a month. For a free video consultation, visit HEMRenovations.com. Your next report at 4:21, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
And temperatures starting to cool down a little bit, but still feeling like 33 when you factor in the humidity and those winds.
If you're going to cheat, not charge me tax, I'm not going to ask for the damn receipt because I don't need it. There's no tax.
And as we head into the evening, 24 is the temperature during the overnight. 16, and we do have the chance for an isolated shower, but that doesn't really look like it's going to hold together all that well. Tomorrow it's 29 and really quite sticky, feeling like 36. It's a little bit of sun to start the day, but as we head into the afternoon, the chance for rain showers, and by evening, some thunderstorm potential as well. And we drop to 15 tomorrow evening. Right now, it is 29 at Pearson, feeling like 33 tonight's overnight low 16.
680 News Time, 4:13.
Direct invest with Scotia iTrade. Get started in 3 easy steps and begin your investing journey from home today. Learn more at scotiaitrade.com. And now time for that Scotia iTrade Market Minutes, and here's Richard Southern.
A winning finish for
where the cops can't find them on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find them. If they ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find them. Where the cops can't find them on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find them. Living life as a fugitive who really wants to hurt me. Enough people following me, my old fam dissing me. Love is like a mystery. I ain't got shit to be. I want my own, think they care if I fucking breathe. God bless me, and I ain't even in the mood to sneeze. Mood to squeeze, shit that fit it off like the breeze. Do this rap shit with ease. Used to rock for the police. First one to duck, blow and shoot. When it's time to squeeze, first one to go OT for the longest. Get small vision over 20 years. Then it drop it there. Bitches looking at tender life and he's still living, still crippin'. God, that's my niggas in that whole prison. Skinny DBS. You get close to them grades to the front page or back streets. My wife used to go get it. Forecast and have me switched up all in 1 second. Forecast and have me switched up all in 1 second. Don't get close, we get close and we ride in. We get close and we ride in. Don't get close, we get close and we ride in. If I ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At a spot where the cops can't find nobody knows. Where the cops can't find them on the run. At a spot where the cops can't find them. If I ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At a spot where the cops can't find them. Nobody knows. Where the cops can't find them on the run. At a spot where the cops can't find them. Is your niggas really riding? Is your girl really riding? I don't know, but I'm strapped. If he comes, I provide him top blow. She say, make sure that you line him. Laugh when I see that pussy nigga start crying. I'm a boss in the jungle, something like a lion. Ask about me, you probably heard that it's sliding. Real beef, I ain't trying to bottom up or tie him. Don't get close, we get close and we ride it. My nigga fuck my accent, she gave me dome after she did it, so I dashed her. I had a pastor, didn't even cross one word when I slapped her. Turned it to a horse. Ice water. Left coast master. Found a sick chick, her mom knows I'm a black, so she wholesale. And I got some girls in the hotel. Shut up. I got some girls in the hotel. Don't get close, we get close and we ride it. We get close and we ride it. Don't get close, we get close and we ride it. If I ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At a spot where the cops can't find nobody knows. Where the cops can't find them on the run. At a spot where the cops can't find them. If I ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At a spot where the cops can't find them. Nobody knows. Where the cops can't find them on the run. At a spot where the cops can't find them. Back. CBS, you already know what type of day it is. Palmer Media, only getting greedier. ABK, Palmer Court, Marksman, 380 degree. You already know what type of day it is. Sit.
Oh.
It's alive. And now you're relying on home appliances more than ever.
Mix lies with the truth to attack us. The attack is psychological.
Coffee to still out to drink. Water.
Remember that. Do not listen.
It's
is real life shit, can't change it for an instant. Blood, sweat, and tears, now everyone's against it. Trying to step in our way, man, your ass will get popped. Got homies on every corner, none afraid to get shot. You hear it drop, here comes the end of your life. Hollow points cutting through you like the edge of a knife. It's getting harder to see, step away from the light, cause I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. What?
I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. What? Yeah, I stole your soul tonight. Devil in disguise. Stole your soul tonight.
As you wake up in the dark and not realizing I'm there, go ahead and reach for the light. You won't find one there. This is the darkness inside, mixed with the pain that you feel. Here's the voice calling out another soul to conceal. You see the tears in their eyes, that's what's causing the pain. Staring at yourself blindly, can't remember the name. Call me whatever you like, but let it be told. I'm the devil in disguise and the possessor of souls.
The Toronto areas are the biggest problems. The modeling also shows by June 15th, the totals for our country could hit up to 107,000 cases and 9,400 deaths. Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Teresa Tam also warning, as economies reopen, if we don't do it right, there could be very serious consequences.
If we relax too much or too soon, the epidemic will most likely.
Hey, you think it needs black people to relax? Ever? Really? Niggas are not taking food right now?
Seniors will receive their special one-time payment of up to $500 to help deal with rising costs in this pandemic. Meanwhile, Justin Trudeau also facing many questions about his refusal to specifically name President Donald Trump when discussing the unrest, violence, and anti-racism protests in the States. He says he'll stand up for Canadian values and express them, but still doesn't mention the president. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
On the first update we've seen in months now, the RCMP says behavioral analysis of the Nova Scotia gunman has found that some of the victims of his violence were targeted for perceived past injustices, while others were simply selected at random. 22 people were killed in one of Canada's worst mass killings. The police force also disclosing that the police officer killed on April 19th did exchange gunfire with the killer after colliding with the replica police vehicle that the killer was driving. Now, it's not believed that Constable Heidi Stevenson ran the gunman's car, the RCMP noting that she was wearing soft and hard body armor at the time. Police have confirmed that 3 of the firearms in the gunman's possession were obtained illegally from the United States, 1 obtained illegally in Canada, and the 5th was taken from the constable.
Whatever there's a man with he obtained them illegally in the United States and brought them, or what? How do you know
traffic and weather together on ones. Here's Kyle Hawkins.
There's no paperwork. How do you know any of that?
The highways right now. A couple of problems, going one towards the city, one away. So if you're heading out of downtown, northbound Don Valley Parkway and 404, a couple of problems here, in fact. And Spanbridge, right near Spanbridge, just as you approach Eglinton, an issue just cleared. So we have still a delay from Gerrard to approaching Eglinton, but that issue's moved on that was there. And then you won't hit any other heavy traffic until you get onto the 404. It's heavy 407 to north of 16th Avenue. Then gets very slow, approaching Stouffville Road to north of it. At that point, we have the right lane blocked for the stolen vehicle. If you're traveling away from the city on the westbound Gardner, through downtown and out of it, it's busy DVP to west of Strong. Bit of a delay on the west QEW through Winston Churchill, where the left lane is blocked for construction. And then volume, Appleby to west of Guelph Line.
One joint of 492.
This is another heavy spot approaching the Burlington Skyway. 2 left lanes are blocked from approaching the Skyway to the top of it. So we've got delays from just beyond Nikola Tesla to the top of the Skyway here. And then the rest of the way into downtown on the East QA Gardner's fine once you're past the Skyway. Now we have South 404 delays, Finch down to the 401 ramps. Southbound DVP looks to be in pretty good shape. There is a problem on the southbound Allen. Approaching Eglinton, the right lane is blocked with a collision. Tows on the scene. So it's causing a delay here, but the delay doesn't even stretch back to Lawrence. So it's not too bad, but it will slow you down. If you're if you're traveling on the 401, volume eastbound, across the city, it's busy east of Kiel Express, approaching Young Collectors to Leslie, and then about DVP, alternately Express and Collectors to Kennedy. West 401, volume Allen, alternately Express and Collectors to Dixon. Your next reported 4:31, and with the extended forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
Thanks, Kyle, and it is going to be a mild evening, a bit humid still as well.
We only dropped down to 24 for the evening, 16 during the overnight. We will get into some clearing as well. And then for Friday, it's a bit of sun to start, but doesn't last very long. Rain showers by the afternoon, some thunderstorms by the evening. 29 feels like 36. There's relief on the way, though. Friday night, it does get cooler, 15 degrees, and the winds change direction. Instead of the southerly wind we get tomorrow, the northwesterly wind for the weekend, so a fresher feel. A little more refreshing. 23 for Saturday, sunny cloud, and then for Sunday, just 20 degrees and cooler. Right now, 29 at Pearson, 28 at 680 News, tonight's overnight low, 16.
680 News Time, 4:23.
At PEO Leadership, I'm surrounded by other business leaders who challenge me to become better. Les Mandelbaum, founder and CEO of Umbra. Leaders really need to step outside their world and get new perspectives. PEO Leadership is more than peer-to-peer advisory. It's a community of top executives with global experience. Our retail landscape is rapidly changing.
The possessor of souls, I'll be the devil in disguise, the possessor of souls. The possessor of souls, I'll be the devil in disguise, the possessor of souls.
Jump in the water, speed that flow. Don't go against that flow. Speed that flow, speed that flow. Jump in that water, speed that flow.
Ice water.
Don't go against that flow. Speed that flow, just jump in that water. Speed that flow, speed that flow. Hey. Speed that flow, speed that flow. Don't go against it, God. Speed that flow, jump in that water. Yeah. Speed that flow, speed that flow. Speed that flow, jump in that water. Speed that flow, speed that flow. Yeah. Don't go against it, speed that flow. Speed that flow, don't go against it, dog. Speed that flow, jump in that water. Speed that flow. Slice a piece up in the Dutch pot. Curry chicken on the stove top. Shout out niggas from the stove top. Niggas talk within the gunshots. Something from my pictures look. Case run down with it, chefing good. Shout out niggas out of driftwood. Shit's way beyond crip blooded. Toronto born and raised. Toronto born and raised. They was never ready. Every single day you would be amazed. Living how we live, young niggas grinding stuck up in a maze. Told my nigga Charlie, we can get this money, make it different ways. We don't call it no shit, we ain't call it no bitch. But I got a full clip and I bet it'll rip. Better a bit, and they get over kids. You know that I rich niggas. Cause from up how I bitch niggas. Better get back on that defense nigga. That is gonna run, leave a stench nigga. I guess we on the offense. Charlie like Jordan, Scottie Pippen. Better listen on a mission, wishing. Hoping that we find a way to beat the competition. Niggas switching, cotton pitcher, work with bitches, talk is different, you know, slipping back for business. Wait, let me slow it down. Still full circle, I go around. Wait, never thought my city was a murder town. Ride like a dungeon dragon. Ran from the cops and my pants were hanging. Used to do dirt in a station wagon. Getting locked up in the station flagging. 03, I got to raise the magnum. Ran out the beast like a Hugh Jackman. Join the team like some new draftsmen. To get the rope like how they do in Hangman.
It's got orange hairs on the outside. It's purple shit on here.
Don't go against that flow. Speed that flow. Speed that flow. Jump in that water. Speed that flow.
That's all that shit. Baby, niggas see, hey, when he smells this in his head. You don't even notice. I'm gonna try that. It's working him. He didn't even notice.
Speed that flow. Speed that flow. Don't go against it, God.
I think this is a big guy.
Jump in that water. Speed that flow, speed that flow, speed that flow, jump in that water, speed that flow, speed that flow, don't go against it, speed that flow, speed that flow, don't go against it, dog, speed that flow, jump in that water, speed that flow.
427 like the highway.
The good news in relation to the recovery from COVID-19 is already built in. Going on to those markets now, generally speaking, they took a breather.
Keyboard up here. Right here. I need a adjustable arm. Push it up here.
William. Damn.
You know what, Travis?
Son, I got to reload it like a gun. Time them just for fun. They want to see me with my hands up, baby, for fun. They ain't gonna see that shit, cause I really make runs. They got to get their job.
Fly to the ground! No matter what you do!
more in the slum.
They tried fixing it 3 times.
Deceased from head to toe.
3
They ain't
matches.
gonna breathe no more. Ain't gonna see no tree. Ain't no more paradise down here. It's only hell or up. You won't get a chance no more down here. I ain't showing no fear. I gotta ride for my other side, and they gotta ride for me, cause they gotta say that they'll die for me. They gotta shine for me. If I shine on my own, then fuck, they won't lie for me. They won't lie for me. They won't die for me. I'm in this, but haters ain't gonna shine with me. They ain't shining with me because I put them all in the past. I told all these haters cut them off and all to kiss my ass. Haters don't love it. I ball just like Nash, saying that they wanna ball, throwing bins in the trash. I'ma hit it up like fuck it, haters. I gotta see you later, like fucking adding up my stacks with the calculator, saying that they wanna brave something just like braver. I'ma be braver than you, probably be the first heartbreaker. I never broken hearts before, but I just might take you. Shit, boy, I gotta remix this shit like a bitch gotta read this.
Yeah, the heat's nice because my body can't produce heat, apparently. But also, it regulates the temperature properly. Sort of.
De bak saffen in de zak, kost 6 centen maandelijkse toeslagen. Voor het dak kan niet betalen kan. Joar, dinero para mal plata. Babylon brandt in de ban van Satan. België, looks like a duck, talks like a duck, looks like a duck, so it must be the Shylock. Panama Papers.
Snake in the grass. Oh.
This is for my haters up. Yeah, we got the greatest flow. Sipping on that medicine. You know we got that medical. Raining the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. Raining the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. This is for my haters up. Yeah, we got the greatest flow. Sipping on that medicine. You know we got that medical. Raining the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. Raining the young hood. This is for my haters up. Yeah, we got the greatest flow. Sipping on that medicine. You know we got that medical. Raining the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. Raining the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. That's why I hate them. Yeah, we got that greatest flow. Sipping on that medicine. You know that shit is medical. Raining the young hood with some hooligans.
These rappers be tripping, shit used to be cold. Now I'm cooking in the kitchen, right, left, sunny, lifting, lane switching, steady dipping. I'm not here to play. I've been walking through hell. I'm not here to stay.
Perfect, actually. That's what you want, a responsive government, is it not?
Streets catching all the fog. I ain't grown just my jaw. Fire behind power out the power like a mob. Everyone got a problem. Keep it humble in the meantime. You'll see why I'd rather find a stick like a behind.
Someone do it.
In the shadows, paying for battle. Kick or travel and dance. Get that or you'll need the gavel. Start giving me space. So if I get lucky with this money, then I'll be pulling that piece.
Medicine, you know we got that medical. Young hood, nigga with some hooligans. Young hood, nigga with some hooligans. Yeah, we got that greatest flow. Living on that medicine, you know that shit is medical. Waiting black, young with some hooligans. Waiting black, young with some hooligans. And I be grinding, I'm on my grind, bro. And I be smoking on that killer that be that high, bro. Blood famous nigga, yeah, you know we getting high, yo. Smoking on that purple cause I don't fuck with that lean, though. Oh my god, killing shit like my name is Zod. Superman flying high like I'm in the fucking clouds. Raining black, got my back, and push straight up at the pack. And my O's are Cheerios. Some silly hoes playing just like hooligans. You never play the way. Hit the pot, I'm smoking in these bitches, they so extra shit. Look at Dicky fucking bitch, I gotta hit the block and this, I gotta chop him. Need a fix from the ain't called letters. Sliding through the project quick with some niggas talking shit. I ain't telling lies, hope afterwards, yeah, that's what click. Name is Key, next bitch, haters on the trolling shit. I can never get where it is, nobody can never. This is for my haters, yeah, we got the greatest flow. Sipping
There is still a delay at the bottom end of the Allen, though, heading southbound. Good night, reported 441, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
Batman. 20 should be good.
Forecast. We're not near enough forecast.
I just broadcast 19. Movie. Or a little down. No problem.
What's good?
YG back from the tracks and the crack shit's watching. What up? Niggas don't love you, that's a fact. Get the Mac, no cheese. God bless me, no sneeze. Niggas see me and breeze. 40 no shit, he's got strapped to the slap. If you moving like a stack, relax, just rack. Put him in a box, no jack. Roll one deep, never need a pack. Hey. Niggas know me from north to the south. Never need no one, make my own club. Southside, reach apart, nigga, that's my road. Niggas selling drugs, man, I'm in a drought. They all know what I'm about. Stuck red, talk shit, catch sled, hit the head, up the shits, no meds. Get the fuck on the red, stay away from the feds. On the streets, no bed. Hey, deep water, I track, I slow, no sled. I swamp me dead, this day I dread. Bitch gave me head, see my strap, they fled. Hey, I know what they said, I don't be shit when I was in the ditch. No pussy, I'm rich, they low, don't switch, they solid one bitch. See the flick of the wrist, I'm on some shit, talk shit, get hit, big one, come lit. I keep my stick, I let it flick just like a dick. I'm in his house like old Saint Nick. She want my dick, she know I'm sick. I ain't a crip, that crack I nip. I hit his lip if he talking shit. Fuck his click and fuck his gang. I'll hit the 3 just like I'm dang. She wanna kang that 40 I bang. If he owe my gang, them hollows stang. My shorties pang. She loves when I sang. She feels the pain. I'm in the rain. Hit a stain if the means getting paid. And this my clip, you getting late. I'm in the trap, the cop to the raid. I got that work, you know it's a great. Just back, man, you know you're rocking, man. Wire and DC. We'll find the paint, man. You know you're rocking. Got that whole strip locked down, cuz. Hey. Hit him with a slug, gon' make him move slow. You know me, I'm all about my dough. Gotta make sure my boys gon' blow. They love my beat, they rate my flow. My neck is cold, it's 0 below. Big wrist gon' shoot, you know I drove. I keep my heat, I ain't talking about a stove. I'm in a trap, selling food, no fresh code. That nigga wants beef, my strap gon' blow. Every time I drop a truck, my throat gon' grow. Made sure he told me, don't let my low. I should've known that she was right. Because of that, we really tight. I'll bust my strap if she gon' fight. Hoodie on, I'll ride at night. I'll show my might, never flight. 40 with the demon, he inciting. I ain't missing, I ain't slipping, never tripping. Coke I'm whipping, check my waist, I'm really dripping. Packs I'm flipping, niggas talking, niggas snitching. Trigger finger, really itch for niggas that want me dead. 9 on me, a 2 in the head. These niggas run to God like Ned. Check my flag, it's really red. Near to the game, not newlywed. Niggas watch my every move. They just wanna see me lose.
And I know because of kids are on a public health.
I make red, just call me Dempster's inner mouth, just like a denture. I am icy, looking fresher. Fuck that bitch, I'll never miss her. She respect me, call me Mr. Since she left, I have been better. Really wish I never met her. Pays these niggas like a letter.
This event, Floyd's body will go to Rayford, North Carolina. That's where he was born, for a public viewing and private family service on Saturday. Phil Martino, 680 News.
Judges set bail at $750,000 apiece for 3 former police officers in Minneapolis, charged now with aiding and abetting in the death of Floyd. The 3 men made their first court appearances early this afternoon while the memorial was underway. Minneapolis Police Department fired them last week, and they were arrested on Wednesday. Now, if convicted of aiding and abetting murder, they face a maximum of 40 years in prison.
Happening now in downtown Oakville, about 300 people are taking part in a peaceful Black Lives Matter march. And they gathered downtown around 3 this afternoon and were planning to walk along Lakeshore Road and through Care Village. Organizers say masks are mandatory. Halton police are aware of the march and are telling people to be conscious of the physical distancing guidelines.
Well, you're listening to 680 News. Toronto's mayor has unveiled a new quick start program.
That means you called them up. Hey, did you know? Did you do it? Yes.
When, of course, restaurants and bars get the go-ahead to reopen. At the same time, the province is now giving the green light for some short-term rentals to get running again. With details, here's 680 Stuart again.
Parking lots, sidewalks, even extending past the curb onto city streets. That's where Toronto says we'll see patios once they're able to reopen. Part of a new program called Cafe TO. Restaurants and bars are being encouraged to get ready to open or expand their existing outdoor spaces, and they won't have to pay the typical city fees.
They will get extra revenue generation, but won't have to pay extra fees to us, and thus this will help those struggling businesses.
Mayor John Tory says it's not clear when we might see the start of this unique patio season, but hinted Canada Day could be a possibility. Meanwhile, along the lines of spring and summer activities, as of midnight, the province is lifting restrictions on short-term rentals, including homes, B&Bs, and cottages. It comes on a day when nearly 21,000 tests were completed, while we saw a spike of 45 deaths in the newest numbers, and new cases held relatively steady at 356. I'm Stuart McGinn.
You're listening to 680 News. It's 4:39. And the federal government has released new modeling for the COVID-19 pandemic, which shows a decline in cases across the country, but still some concerning data in our most populated provinces. We currently have more than 93,000 confirmed cases in Canada and more than 7,500 deaths. Here's our parliamentary reporter, Cormac McSweeney.
Most regions of the country have seen few new cases, and in some provinces and territories, there's been virtually no transmission in recent days. But over the last 2 weeks, Ontario and Quebec have accounted for 90% of the new cases, and health officials say the Toronto and Montreal areas remain hotspots of transmission. Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Theresa Tam also unveiling their short-term projections.
The predicted number of deaths could be in the range of 7,700 to 9,400 by June 15th.
Dr. Tam also warning if provinces relax restrictions too much or too soon, we could see a dramatic second wave in the fall that could be worse in the spring. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister also announcing that on the week of July 6th, seniors will receive their special one-time payment of up to $500 to help them deal with rising costs in this pandemic. Trudeau also facing many questions about his refusal to specifically name President Donald Trump when discussing the unrest and anti-racism protests in the U.S., and he's still not naming it.
My job as Prime Minister is to stand up for Canadians' values, to express those values.
Is the hiccups?
He's done this.
Is his eyebrow falling off?
Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Now the 680 News gas price update. Enpro says the price of gas is not going to change a bit.
You're a weird motherfucker, Justin.
97.9 cents a liter.
680 News Time, 4:40.
Working from home?
Stay up to date on the coronavirus.
Now more than ever.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day on your radio.
680news.com.
Or ask to play 680 News on your smart speaker.
What you just did.
Now, see here, I know you're next, but I'm buying a car and all, and I appreciate that, I really do. But don't you suppose that maybe, just maybe, everybody could use a little help, like Jerry here?
Well, she told me it was easy. I went to OntarioCars.ca, don't you know, I fell in love with a beauty.
See, look up OntarioCars.ca to find sellers you can trust. Don't worry, you'll do just fine.
OntarioCars.ca.
680 News Time, 4:41.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Kyle Hawking.
This report is brought to you by Mr. Lube. We've got, if you're traveling the westbound 401, looks like a new problem approaching Mississauga Road. It's shredded the Credit River Bridge, it appears. Bit of a lane blocked through the collision. We can see the end of this delay, but it's collisions out of our camera range. If you're in the area, start 680 on your cell phone, provide the update. We have a jam up here, and this is what we can see is that heavy jam up approaching Huron-Ontario Express and Collectors, and it looks solid out towards Mississauga Road, approaching Mississauga Road, where this problem is. Eastbound 401 in this area, also seeing delays from approaching Mississauga Road to east of it. Traffic having a look at that issue on the westbound side. And then more eastbound delays from the 427 rather, Express and Collectors to the 400. It looks busy through Kiel on the Collectors, and then from the Allen, alternately Express and Collectors to Leslie. More delays, DVP to Victoria Park Express and Victoria Park to Kennedy Collectors, and then slow in Durham region, Brock Road to east of Salem.
Northbound 404, still the stalled vehicle north of Stillville Road. It's causing a rather heavy jam up. The right lane is blocked here, and volume from Elgin Mills to north of Stillville Road because of it. So you may even want to consider using Woodbine or Leslie as alternates there. Woodbine's probably a better idea, as it looks like we may have a collision on Stillville Road right near Leslie that's causing a jam up. It's at that intersection where you have to sort of make a jog onto Stillville Road to continue going north on Leslie. So maybe take Woodbine instead. We've got delays out of downtown on your way up this area towards on the DVP northbound towards the 404. From Girard to York Mills, and the westbound Gardner is slow from Cherry to west of Strawn. Toronto-bound QEW heading over the Burlington Skyway. 2 left lanes still blocked for maintenance, so it remains slow there. Driving to Mr. Lube, sit back and relax with their stay-in-your-car services. From oil changes to tires, no appointment needed. Mr. Lube, proudly Canadian since 1976. Your next reported 4:51, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
A mild evening coming our way, and temperatures only headed down to 24 during the evening, and we will have a mainly cloudy sky event. We do have temperatures dropping down to 16. We'll get into some clearing tonight. Tomorrow, it's a humid day overall. Some sun to start, afternoon rain showers, some thunderstorms possible as well. As that cold front does move through tomorrow evening, though, it's more refreshing. So 29 is our daytime high. Factor in the humidity, it will feel like 36, but we drop to a low of 15 on Friday night. Right now, 29 at Pearson, feeling like 32. Tonight's overnight low 16.
680 News Time, 4:43.
Now the Scotia iTrade Market Minute, live from the Business Center. Here's Richard Southern.
Hey, thanks, Sarah. Mixed finish today. The TSX was up 40. Check that. I'm sorry. The TSX moving lower. It was down 47 points today. A third of a percent to the downside. 15,527. It was down. To 26,281. S&P fell a third of a percent. The Nasdaq down 67. At the price for gold moving higher, it's up to 1,721 US dollars the ounce. Canadian dollar's been on a tear. It was little change today though at 74.09 cents US. That's your market minute. This is 680 News.
Direct invest with Scotia iTrade. Get started in 3 easy steps and begin your investing journey from home today. Learn more at scotiaitrade.com.
Ciao, I'm Dominic Finucci. The safety and well-being of our employees, customers, and communities is our #1 priority. We are grateful for your continued support. We are also very grateful for those serving the front lines every day. Thank you to all. Considerable remains open for contactless delivery and enter our website at considerable.com for specials. We are here for you. We are all in this together. Be well, be safe.
Are you fucking joking, eh?
Are you ready for the heat and humidity?
All you big tough guys, maybe you're just gonna do that. Yeah, I fucking go through this all the time.
Air conditioning products in Canada at a fraction of regular retail price. Factory Direct. .ca or one of our 20 stores in Southern Ontario.
Black and green, bandana. Black bandana, 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 black bandana, black.
The Premier has also announced $1.5 million in funding to further support Black communities to help them recover from the impacts of the pandemic.
Mourners gathering in Minneapolis this afternoon to say goodbye to George Floyd. It was the first of 3 memorials for men who died in police custody last week. Meantime, bail hearings have been held for each of the 3 former
what they just said is for, doesn't it sound like the right time?
and abetting in Floyd's death.
Hundreds of people have taken to the streets of
supposed to make them
downtown
wait longer.
Oakville for a Black Lives Matter march this afternoon. Roughly 300 people are in attendance and are planning on marching along Lakeshore Road. It's taking place in solidarity with demonstrations in the U.S. and right across the globe in the wake of George Floyd's death.
And for details on these and other stories, you can always find them at 680news.com.
Time now for 680 Sports from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Here's Alex Sixero.
Sarah, the NBA put their head down and along with the players found a way to strike a deal.
Almost every year, anything from various owners, franchises, governors kind of stepping in line as it relates to the league as a whole, and the relationship between the players and the and the commissioner and the owners is quite good. So you got trust, and you've got a mutual incentive.
And there was Michael Grange on writer's block today. The NBA Board of Governors, by vote of 29-1, agreed to restart the season July 31st with 22 teams heading to Orlando. The players will vote tomorrow, and they are expected to approve the plan as well. Other dates we have learned about the
black bandana, black bandana, black and green, black bandana, black bandana, black and green, black bandana, black bandana, black and green. I'm that gang shit, I'm that we don't play shit. Let it spray shit, flossing ain't okay shit. Let it bang shit, let your colors hang shit. On that crazy shit, chopper spitting flame shit. Know you hate shit, know you mad today, bitch. We done made it, off the block we skated. Massachusetts, made its way to New York State.
There's no way you heard that. He was like, ah! I swear to God, that's what it was. Ah! Come right back. Well, it's obviously not a private conversation, is it? I'm nowhere near them. They're not just standing right next to my window or something. You know? Oh, it's funny. Is why? It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. It's sad too. I'm not sure who that is. I think I know who that is. He's not all fucked up. There's people around him. I could be wrong. I think I know who that is. This makes more sense.
Puzzle piece gang, we can take this whole country. One block at a time, bricks in half, quarters down.
Boiling hot ice water, stat.
Facts like shit, you dealt with on the real
drink for the standing. Yes.
Plastic doodle to the kid. Black bandana, black and green bandana.
I should absorb it.
Black bandana, black and green bandana. Black bandana, black and green bandana. Black bandana, black and green bandana. Black bandana, black bandana, black and green. Black bandana, black bandana, black and green.
Why do I need 4 volume controls?
Black and green. Black bandana, black and green.
No, I mean seriously.
You got that shit on us. Blow up children in the car because we give no fuck. Throw up your flag, throw up your signs and represent. We with the crew, no KT guns, slit your neck. We dangerous like Buster Bus in 97. We aim to bust and you wanna stairway to heaven. I'm about to like you get the back to fucking white. I got that hard to soft that put that fucking white. In my kitchen serving beans feeding addiction. My money straight, this life I leave you fucking bitches. I wave them flags of black and green like LA Crips. But we ain't famous, puzzle piece can't need a fish. Black bandana, black and green bandana. 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 Black bandana, black bandana, black and green. 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 Black bandana, black and green bandana. 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 Black bandana, black bandana, black and green. 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 Black bandana, black and green bandana. Black bandana, black and green bandana. Black bandana, black and green bandana.
The collectors believe we have an issue here blocking a lane. Can't see it yet on our cameras, but it is heavy.
Free up the youth now, free six, free kilo, free Josh, free OG. Go hard, let go, get. Bodies DBS, all black on my clothing. X-Men. That's how we rolled in. Put it to you, have you drunk and let the rolls in. But you in your mouth, taking all your gold in. Put it to your next man, now it's neck frozen. Now I'm dipping in the stolen, creeping in, I'm scoping. I see him, leave him open. Big large gun, there's no poking. Pop out the pit, your head's open. Now it's floating. The body stays dead in the ocean. There was some deadly fish, so your body ain't exposing. The DBS, I was chosen. So I hunt for the gold dick and make watch, don't care if it's stolen.
Oh, now it's all for work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Flag, I was holding. 5 DV, we holding. 10 guns, we holding. 2 each, so we going. A headshot, so you won't spit.
It's the greatest thing for
Niggas not trying to see me with the DBS, cause you know the niggas I'm with, get it poppin'. Strap on my waist, you can tell by how I'm walking. I have to let niggas live right in the coffin. I remember I almost got caught sleeping, shit had me tripping. All this block I'm hitting, call it camping, my niggas had me snapping. Now I'm sitting here plotting on my enemy. Had to get my own strap, niggas ain't a friend for me. A fat blunt and some Hennessy. Just to level me, if this beat sounds hardcore, big bullets made the biggest niggas melt early. That's a yes, nigga.
Up top, nigga, I'm bottom. Every nigga I roll with, call them scavengers. Supply the strap if the beats don't matter, the caliber. Deal with you right, ain't no getting back.
You know, old people got like, they got like a whole bunch of like ways to get shit done, they shit need to be done.
Felt like he was trying to hide, so I had to shoot a few. Gotta expect it, you know how down bottom shooters do. Cut the gloves and each hoodie black, so I spit it all black. I'm about to get down to my business. Deal with them under ones, no need for a witness. Hand me the ratchet, call me Mr. Fix It. Learn from my bro, no need for shooting if you miss it. Stop complaining, every day is a gift. Every day enough, you got myself in the kitchen. Fiends everywhere, pops whipping. I wanna move bricks, but a nigga hate pitching. The strap I got on my waist stays kicking, and I be trained so I aim with precision. Hit him in the 6-pack, give him about 6 flat, and it's a rip rap. Nigga believe that. Gun tree 2 when it only costs a G-stack. Something like it's only half a degree and double lemon DBS. Know that we bang, know that we bang. Get it in a T.O. everywhere that we go. Niggas know how we roll deeper than the
nothing wrong with
just to let you know, I ain't sleeping on you motherfuckers. Just to let you know that I'm ready and firing. When I come through, nigga, don't be hiding. If I get caught, toss the Glock, then I'm lying. Don't claim it's on, then slowly be dying. You can find me in the slowly riding. If I'm strapped up, let's believe it's on the waist.
Steaming hot ice water.
In your face. I was on the block, posted up front page, trying to get guap in every other way, still trying to get guap, looking for a better day. Mommy's on my back cause she heard I'm getting paid, but what can I say? Mommy knows that I'm safe. I either got the 5th or the 5th and on my way. Fuck snitching on my niggas, I'd rather catch the case too. While my niggas got strapped on the same day. Rest in peace to my niggas, the engine. Plus 3, all my niggas locked struggling in the cage.
Some people got hit with broken glass and the guns straight. They let the guns fucking straight and let it off even on Sunday. Already got pneumonia. No, I ain't got respect. Magic Johnson, Riz, June Cleaver, and Eddie Haskell. What's the fucking hassle, you fucking asshole? You're supposed to understand this asshole shit.
In the kitchen whipping up that friggin' to the real hard. Bitch, I hustle real hard. Bitch, you hustle real smart. Bitch, you hustle once a week. Bitch, I flip you.
The casinos were absolutely packed there this morning.
Well, I could have taken one of the three.
Returning to Vegas will notice a lot of precautions. Anthony Okoye,
Do it again? Yeah, let's have that. Do that all day. I'll do that to you on the money. If you want.
tables.
You really want?
Temperature check at the entrance. We'll have to see how that pans out over the next coming
That didn't hurt.
The casino stocks were up today.
Yeah, they sure were. MGM gaining more than 7% at $21.72. Wynn Resorts gaining more than 2% at $95.38. Not everything's going to be open in Vegas. The convention halls, the nightclubs, the swimming pools.
What about the Alcoholics Anonymous
because it
meetings,
very much relies on conventions. Speaking of travel, looks like
Hulk Hogan's not the same kind of white guy.
American Airlines said today that
He's his brother.
adding flights to its summer schedule.
The white guy.
American said it plans to fly 55% of its domestic travel schedule in July, up dramatically from May when
He's
it was
not white or Hulk Hogan's
20%.
brother.
No
Like he's
word on
saying it
whether
like it's
Air
French,
Canada
but he's not
and
saying it
WestJet
in
are
French.
planning
He's
to
saying
add flights to
brother.
their summer routes, but
What's with
we've
the
actually seen a better picture for airline stocks as of late. Air Canada shares up 5.7% today, $19.42. The broader markets were mixed. The TSX fell. It was down 47 points, dropping a third of a percent to 15,527. The Dow managed again, it was up 11 points, 26,281, largely on a rally for Boeing. S&P 500 was down a third of a percent. The Nasdaq down 67. So no major moves, and a bit of a mixed picture there on the broader markets today. The Canadian dollar holding at its best level in a couple of months, trading at 74.07 cents. U.S. top stories, traffic and weather only seconds away, right here on 680.
Now on CBC Gem.
Please don't go secret.
Based on Sally Rooney's best-selling novel.
Don't tell anybody in school.
I can't talk to anyone at school.
The series that critics are calling both epic and intimate.
Yeah, it would have been easier if I was sitting down first, wouldn't it? But I wasn't. Standing up. You see me leaning over when I'm sitting down? Then all of a sudden I go, I hate sitting down most of the time.
New series now streaming on
This is where this is
during the pandemic, obtaining authentic personal protective equipment can be a serious challenge. Protect yourself, your employees, and customers with PPE from SteriPro.ca. SteriPro.ca is proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Covers masks, gloves, face shields, and more for you and your business needs.
My knees go like this when I sit down.
It's never been easier.
And I gotta stand up.
Visit SteriPro.ca. That's SteriPro.ca. Now, 680 News regional weather conditions for Coy Brothers. The Toro Super Recycler Lawnmower comes with a durable rust-free cast aluminum cutting deck
And a 5-year full coverage warranty.
Toro at Coy Brothers.
KOOYBROS.
This is light.
In Oshawa right now, sun and cloud, 26 degrees. Richmond Hill, sunny and 31. Downtown Toronto, it's partly cloudy, 28 degrees.
I was dinged all to hell, but that color ain't coming out.
680
The
News,
color
it's 12
dance.
o'clock.
Don't scratch up.
For news in Toronto, this is 680 News.
Here are Steve Roberts and Sarah Parrott.
Well, good afternoon. This is Thursday, the 4th of June.
Good afternoon. Here's what's making news this hour.
I hope you're right.
The government announces funding to help Black youth and the new Council on Equality. This wave of racism, the opposition NDP calls it a slap in the face to Black communities.
Friends, family, and political and faith leaders gather in Minneapolis for a memorial service for George Floyd.
Somebody I can count on no matter what.
Memorials are being staged in every major city in the U.S.
Toronto's police chief addresses systemic inequality.
Especially when it comes to anti-Black racism.
He says the time for incremental change is over.
Expanded patios are coming to Toronto while short-term rentals in Ontario get the green light as big testing numbers highlight new provincial data.
But it hasn't been
We'll
incremental
have much
change.
more as NBA owners have
'Cause even
approved
that
a
would be
plan to
moving
resume the
forward.
season this summer. The players will vote
No,
tomorrow.
you got to look at the
And
Netherlands
the NHL
and even
finalizes
South
a few
Africa.
more formatting issues.
Then you
Sports
understand
15.
how fucked up North America is.
It's National Cheese Day. We're looking at the ooey gooey health of the Canadian
Yeah,
cheese
South Africa,
industry.
the cops shoot at you for nothing and shit, but it's black cops shoot black people. Like it's fucked up, but it's
5:01.
not the
It's time
same.
for traffic and weather together on the lines, and let's go airborne to Chopper 680 and Jordan.
Remember, there's always a minority white population. Always a minority. As far as I know, minority white population in South
Maybe
Africa.
30 seconds ago, in a stalled dump truck here. That got fixed up and they all moved away. about 30 seconds ago. So all lanes are now open. The northbound 404 really heavy up this
These
way.
tells was no longer there. Thank you. Hey, there used to be a crash right here. Why are you telling us that,
is really heavy from just before
we're going to put you in the goddamn long-term care home as soon as Doug fixes that shit up. You're going to the
still a very good alternate, but you probably get on that Stouffville Road now as volume starts to clear up from the 680 traffic center. Kyle Hawking. We have a problem, or had a problem, on the westbound Gardner by Rogers Center, just clear away, so it is heavy off and on now from the DVP to west to Strawn. It is quite slow to start out on the westbound Gardner. A problem on the eastbound 403 in Mississauga, east of Aaron Mills Parkway, right lane still blocked for the crash. And it's heavy now from Winston Churchill to east of Aaron Mills. And then some problems on the eastbound 401, approaching Dixie and the collectors. Ramp lane blocked here because of a stalled transport. We had an issue east of Kiel in the collectors. Just clear off to the shoulder. That was a stalled transport as well. Heavy in this particular spot from east of the 400 in the collectors to east of Kiel. And then on the ramp to Kennedy, the right lane's blocked with a stalled vehicle. That problem on the westbound 401 approaching Mississauga Road has cleared. Heavy into Mississauga, though. 410 express and collectors to approaching Mississauga Road. Your next report at 511, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb. And temperatures tonight still going to be on the mild side at 24 during the evening, dropping to 16 during the overnight. It's cloudy for now, but we do get into some clearing tonight. Tomorrow, 29, feeling like 36, and we start off with sun, but bring back the chance for some thunderstorms, some of which could be severe tomorrow evening. Right now, it is 29 at Pearson, 28 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low 16.
680 News time, 503.
Goddamn.
Ontario is creating an anti-racism council that will help young people in this province get ahead in life. Now, the Ford government is also announcing today an investment to help black communities weather the COVID-19 storm.
All sorts of rules in Germany. You'll be surprised what you cannot do in Germany.
Ford is giving out $1.5 million to organizations that support black youth, but that's not all.
Those people kind of fucked up. He's making a whole bunch of rules. Ain't necessarily going to fix shit. That's
chair of the council, Jamil Javani, says the pandemic was bad enough, but the past
made it illegal for white cops to kill niggers
piled on top of this weight of racism and
that's why.
And despair. But Giovanni says all this work was months in the planning, and the timing of these announcements has nothing to do with George Floyd's stories on CNN.
These issues don't just exist when everyone's paying attention.
The Premier again stepping back from controversial remarks he made this week about Ontario not having deep-rooted systemic racism like the U.S. has. The opposition critic for anti-racism is not buying any of this. FDP Lauren May Lindo, also chair of the NDP's Black Caucus, says after millions of dollars in funding cuts to anti-racism programs, this is, quote, a slap in the face to black communities. I'm Mark Douglas. Well, friends, family, political and faith leaders all gathering in downtown Minneapolis today for a memorial service for George Floyd. Now, it's just one of many that have been planned across this country and in the States as well.
Yeah, I moved it back up. I wasn't planning on that.
What was said at the service this afternoon. Phil.
Steve, inside the sanctuary at North Central University, an image of George Floyd was projected above the pulpit. Friends, family members, civil rights activists, and dignitaries came to pay their respects to the 46-year-old. His nephew, Brandon Williams, says Floyd was a father figure.
I just remember just all of the memories, man. So more than anything, I just want to say thank you to him just for being there, just being a real, genuine person, just being loving and caring, and somebody I can count on no matter what.
Beverly was at a gathering not far from the service where the public was able to listen to the proceedings.
I was here when he died, and so that's why I wanted to be here. I have 2 sons, and I'm living in this community for 23 years now.
And they still look at you like a fucking immigrant.
To support. The sanctuary normally seats 1,000 people, but because of COVID-19, the capacity was reduced to about 500. Floyd's death in police custody has sparked protests across the U.S. and around the world, calling for an end to racial injustice. But Martino, 680 News.
Because he's in custody, I would say, well, they're responsible for his
from Georgia. A judge has ruled there is enough evidence to try 3 suspects on murder charges in the fatal shooting of Ahmaud Arbery. Evidence revealed in court this this afternoon alleges that the young black man was repeatedly boxed in by 2 pickup trucks as he desperately tried to escape. A state investigator is alleging that the white man accused of killing Arbery was heard saying a racist slur as he stood over his body moments after hitting Arbery with 3 shots from a pump-action shotgun. The evidence challenges claims of self-defense during a citizen's arrest attempt and could factor into a federal hate crime investigation. Stay with 680 News for more on this developing story.
Meantime, the 3 fired police officers charged with aiding and abetting in the death of George Floyd appear in court for the first time today.
The former officers are charged with aiding and abetting Officer Derek Chauvin as he put his knee on George Floyd's neck during an arrest that led to his death. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison tells ABC's Good Morning America to win the cases, they'll have to prove that those officers helped.
You can look at the tape and see who's sitting where and see the assistance that was given, meaningful and important assistance to what Chauvin was doing. And so we believe that, and we can also see what was not.
We don't want to let African
a challenge, but says he's confident in their case. Ryan Burrow, ABC News, Minneapolis.
Let's go closer to home now, where Toronto's police chief Mark Saunders discussed systemic racism in this city this afternoon, saying his organization is working to regain community trust in the wake of recent events. 680's Asher Ross joins us live with more on what the chief had to say. Asher.
Yes, Sarah, Chief Saunders said that recent events both around the world and here in Toronto have shown that the time for incremental change is over.
We will listen. We will continue to work and actions to help restore any public trust that is.
See where the chips fall later. Everything I'm documenting that I say about you, you say whatever you want about me.
Is to continue the work that he has done since becoming chief, including adding an additional day of community engagement training, and to continue to work with members of the black community in discussing police procedures and regulations through a racialized lens. Saunders also defended his force's budget, which is now over $1 billion.
Make no mistake that our budget is created with community. We are transparent in our spending. We are cognizant of our role in helping the city's goals of providing the necessary resources for every Toronto citizen.
When asked about the death of George Floyd, Saunders says what happened to him still bothers him. He was offended by it, and that his officers are not trained to use knee to neck restraints like a former Minneapolis police officer used on George Floyd for more than 8 minutes until he stopped breathing. Reporting live, Asher Ross, 680 News.
The city of Toronto has unveiled a new program designed to help the restaurant and bar
They would make the argument when we weren't trained not to. We need more training.
Announces that it will soon let short-term rentals like cottages resume operations.
The city's new program comes without the typical patio fees and aims to help restaurants and bars get back on their feet.
Cafe TO is a quick start program that will make it easier for restaurant and bar owners to open patios, to expand patios, and to access additional space for physical distancing.
The mayor says announcing this now allows these facilities to be ready to open whenever the province allows them to. And while that timeline is still unclear, John Tory hinted right around Canada Day could be achievable. Meanwhile, at the provincial level, as of midnight, short-term rentals will once again be permitted for homes, B&Bs, and cottages. All of this comes on a day where new cases
what about
have
Airbnb?
356. There were 45 new deaths
No, where
in the
does
province,
the
but we
6 months
surpassed
ago,
our
years
daily
ago?
testing
Well,
goal,
Airbnb's
including
got
nearly
shootings,
21,000 swabs
Yeah, well, I
for
think that would have happened
COVID-19.
anyway.
I'm Stuart McGinn.
Now the 680 News gas price update, and Pro predicts the price
Maybe
will
more.
not change at midnight, staying at 97.9 cents a liter.
Your roof sprung a leak. Water came through, shorted out the furnace, the radiator too.
Goddamn radiator was airlocked.
There's prudent financial.
I got the goddamn bleeder freed up there, but then the goddamn screw goes flying across the goddamn
your
road.
car or home, you get a loan in minutes.
Next thing, there's no hurry. I'm looking in the dark. Probably. I'm looking in the dark. Goddamn piece of shit. Piece of shit flashlight. $300 flashlight. I plug it into my $2,000 computer. Flashlight charge. Now I'm looking for this goddamn bleeder screw. Son of a bitch, Lord. No, I can listen to this shit on Tell me about it, brother. I don't say that. That was one of the other white guys there said, "Oh, I hear you, brother." One time, me and this other guy I was working with, he quit mixing up. Lock the goddamn keys in there. Son of a bitch. Well, he didn't lock the key, this idiot.
Got hollows by the bag, try to stop one. Fuck around and catch a hot one from a shotgun. I'm a hot one. What you bitch say? Flow hard, stay sharper than the switchblade. Use a bitch made. When I make bitches, triple R, I ain't fucking with no fake bitches. Real recognize, real what's good. Get money and I bring it back to the hood. Ask me how I'm doing, try to tell you real good. But I ain't stopping till I'm fucking gripping bands.
Central letters, it's called. Military central letters in South Dakota. Segregation is.
And a jail locked up. Better bring the homie bitches call me Sam, cause I got that desert eagle on me.
They say that we call it the South African street code. So they killed like 30 fucking security guards in South Africa 7 years ago. Protesting. Security guards. Police were like, yeah. 35 of them or some shit. 3 dozen or some shit. Just for protesting. Just for walking down the street.
Political shit. Bro, look, some of us feel we shouldn't even interact with white men. I mean, we are African brothers.
Video clip by sides in the road, straight or side.
Look, you funny ass bougie nigga. We ain't in Africa. We in Oakland. In Oakland, we got police brutality. We got the white man interacting his billy club upside the black man's head. That shit don't bother you. Take the skirt wearing ass back to Africa.
I can't breathe around this bitch. Yeah, I can't breathe around this bitch. Yeah, I can't breathe around this bitch. Hands up, don't shoot, like around every corner. Let's stick together and be forever. Cause we're soldiers. I can't breathe around this bitch. Yeah, I can't breathe around this bitch. Young rapper, the shooter. My mom was a trooper and taught me well to survive through hell. In my DNA to get big. Grandfather was a soldier. He's a war vet. You're a small vet all alone. Educate your dome. Coming of age, flip the page. 10 years in the making of a star. Going far, wasn't born yesterday. Haters hate all day. Is their job cover 100,000 ain't shit by the starving with millions. Man, listen. Rap for the children.
Every 6 meals fucking chemo. Watch out.
Killing kids, blood spilling.
Remember what everything was. There was meat and proteins. They're at this level. They don't want us to have any legitimate complaints.
Forget that man that did that. Because I grew up in a gang and was raised by the streets. But I'm corporate, so I educate. Been racial profile, like cops 100 times to keep it. 100 lives, it wasn't doing a crime. They're stupid, just liquid. I told them they're wasting their time. Pigs, do you know who my mom is? You don't want it with me. You don't want it with rockers. They don't want it with G. Nigga, I can't breathe around this thing. Yeah, I can't breathe around this thing. Yeah, I can't breathe around this thing. Yeah, I can't breathe around this thing. Hands up, don't shoot, like around every corner. Let's stick together and be forever. Cause we're soldiers. I can't breathe around this thing. I can't breathe around this thing. Hands up, don't shoot, like around every corner. Let's stick together and be forever. I can't breathe around this thing. I can't breathe around this thing.
News out of Georgia this afternoon where judges now ruled there is enough evidence to try 3 suspects on murder charges in a failed shooting of the armory.
I can't prove the love is big.
It's now time for 680 Sports, and from Sportsnet 590 The Fan, here's Alex.
Well, guys, the Players Association is going to hold a conference call tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, there's 2 people staring at the floor. Now I want to walk over there and see what they're looking at.
Players voted to resume the season July 31st with that 22-team setup in Orlando. Each team will take part in 8 games before the playoffs begin, and we could also see a play-in tournament for the 8 seeds. ESPN reports that teams will start training.
I can only see that it's like for like an hour
These niggas have been sweating. Don't get out the bathroom on the phone. Nigga begging it. I'm way ahead of it. I'll ride up on a nigga letting it ball. When it comes to this rap shit, the fuck this is so is Jeezy low. Man, I'm easy for. I'm out for them notes, but I still keep it close. Case a man try provoke. That's 5 shots through his throat. Listen, if you know, then you know. I'm still on lunch, shot and hose, stashing knives in me clothes. If it's not your beat, don't get involved. We ride out to slap a nigga down, and no cases getting sold. Listen, I'm the shooter, you're the victim. I rode out with him and told police I went with him. I gave me boy follow tips, looks to the loot. Just said that's for that dude. The next day when I clipped him, I'm back on it. Niggas got the shotty, said I don't want it. I've got nowhere to put it. Plus it's out of bullets and I hate them shotguns. Cause when it's beef, I've never got nowhere to stuff it. I'm riding out with handings with bullets that expand. If I hit man by the barbers, he gon' land by pound. And then I'm lost, so don't act like you found man. 8 bills for the odds if you want that brown tan. Listen, I'm trying to stay low off the radar from poker because I know they want me so. Still trying to find me from crimes that I did years ago, but I don't even give a fuck. I got fined once, they hit me with some threats. Talk about they'll take the shit if I didn't pay the debt. You gotta cheat. Little fucking confidence. Tell him Jeezy. Straight Liverpool to Toronto. What it
I'm like, bang, bang, shots fly, body found in the park again. So flew like an angel with the darkest sins. You can't fly with the carpet wings. So I had to watch him sing like agnostic shit. It's like I built this on my own, no partnership. I did it solo, nigga, this my nigga, so I shot it up solo. Word to my nigga, the clips you up with the phone.
They have a downtown area? Really? You called it an area?
Marching along Lakeshore Road and then through Care Village. It is taking place in solidarity with demonstrations that is spread all across the globe in the wake of George Floyd's death. Masks were mandatory at today's march, with demonstrators encouraged to follow physical distancing rules. Well, job cuts are on the way at Bombardier.
The company says it's temporarily laying off
I'm on that 3G shit. I just don't know if you're up to
the
that.
GTA working on Bombardier's transit services, building trains for GO Transit and for the Union Pearson Express.
So one guy have a Wi-Fi. You said, why not?
Effective June 21st, down to about 20% of its workforce. Bombardier points out that ridership
You should all be fucking fired. Hey, would you fly in one of them planes? No? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
And that regional transit authorities need. Richard Southern, 680 News.
And Las Vegas is starting to reopen today as casinos and hotels.
We might as well switch back to like DC 8
Bellagio, when you go to play blackjack today,
at least the thing did fly itself into the ground on purpose.
And the dealer,
We have put plexiglass in at each of our table games, especially with blackjack.
hand washing stations.
Especially with black. Why the black jack? Why the black?
Las Vegas says despite
Why?
the
We need
challenges of
especially the black
COVID-19
jack.
and
What the
protests,
fuck
the
is that
demand has
about?
been higher than expected. Alex Stone, EBC News.
680 News Time, 521.
It's now time for traffic and weather together on the ones. And let's go airborne. Where can we find you, Jordan Kerr?
On the 401 right now in McAllen, we had some issues here. We got other issues elsewhere. The 401 is not too great right now. We got issues east and west.
You gotta turn your blender off when you start the chat.
The fifth lane from the left. There are 6 lanes through here. Blocked off all because of the crash. A car rear-ended a
The
truck.
fifth from the left. 1, 2, 3. Second from the right, you motherfucker.
400 expressing collectors to west of Kipling because of that. And then delays westbound 401 west of the 410 expressing collectors.
The fifth from the left. There's 6 lanes.
On the eastbound 401, it's heavy approaching Mississauga Road to Mavis. East
You're
of
a pilot, not a driver. We can tell.
A stalled vehicle should be out of here soon, but there is a minor delay. Then the slope from Kipling to the 400 expressing collectors, from the Allen Express Baby collectors to Leslie, and then from the DVP to Victoria Park in the Express, Victoria Park to Kennedy.
Hey, Brethren, go swing over Oakville.
Here eastbound on the 401, just east of McCowan in the Express on the right shoulder. And luckily, no major slowdown, but then it's slow into the eastbound 401 from Liverpool in the Express to east of Salem. Should mention this issue on southbound Kennedy, just south of the 401. The 2 left lanes are blocked.
I feel like I'm going
tractor trailer, and then right after it, the right lane is blocked for maintenance, and it is jammed from south to Shepherd. Take an alternate from the 680 traffic center, Kyle Hawking.
We still have this problem eastbound 403 in Mississauga, east of Aaron Hills Parkway. The right lane still blocked by crews dealing with a crash here, so it is jammed up from east of Winston Churchill to east of Aaron Mills. And also a Toronto-bound issue on the QEW approaching eastboard to the top of the Burlington Skyway. 2 left lanes closed for construction. Delays begin, though, from Nikola Tesla. Out of downtown, North Don Valley is slow approaching Don Mills to York Mills. That problem on the 404 ramp to Highway 7 has cleared. A westbound Gardner much improved since last check. Slow Spadina to West of Strawn. 407 ETR is helping communities and hospitals with a $5.2 million donation to United Way and GTHA hospitals. Learn more at 407etr.com.
7 million people.
The next report at 5:31, and with the extended forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
And temperatures tonight dropping down to 24 and then 16 during the overnight. And it's getting a little cloudy across the GTA. We'll clear some of the cloud out tonight. Tomorrow, 29 feels like 36. It's a little bit sunny to start, more clouds by the afternoon, and then the rain moves in. Chance for some severe thunderstorms possible too. We're thinking about anywhere between 6 to 8 millimeters of rain from this system, and we dropped down to 15 for Friday night. For Saturday, Sunday, sun and cloud, cooler, 23 for Saturday, 20 for Sunday. Right now it's 29 at Pearson, 28 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low 16.
680 News time, 524.
Save the world. Wear a mask. All of us at CanadaMaskSupply.ca, thank you for doing your part to protect yourself. And
I'll just save the whole world if I just put on my mask. I'm gonna be Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, all rolled in together. I can't even take my mask off. I can't. I could have 2 minutes ago. I'm not gonna try it now because I won't get up again. Yeah, I got the matches.
Both value priced. Visit our website at
CanadaMaskSupply.ca
for all the details and to buy directly.
And this portion of 680 News for Alexanian Carpet and Flooring. Well, the pandemic and the crosstown LRT construction combined have made doing business on Eglinton West a little difficult, but health
since 1998, you cocksucker.
The area is home to the highest concentration of Black and Caribbean-owned businesses, and getting a boost now from the Black Business and Professional Association.
What happened to the Eglinton West subway?
Economic Development Corporation. They are leading a
$1
community
billion
initiative to
cancellation
help businesses survive and grow after the pandemic is over. It includes a new website, www.thelittljamaica.com. Mayor John Tory calls Little Jamaica the home of Eglinton West. That is an important part of Black history in this city, and as such, an important part of our shared history. Well, coming up,
it's not shared. They were here before. They've been here a lot longer than most white people ever could they find here.
For the past several months,
They know where to fucking go back to.
At Alexanians, we want to thank you for doing your part. Our flooring stores are now open with safety
Sierra
measures
Leone
to
and
protect
Liberia
you
thing,
and
the
our
exception to the
employees.
rule.
We're ready to serve you in-store, at home, online, or by virtual visit at alexanian.com.
I'll come with you. I'll come with
Vendors are
you.
providing a special reopening discounts, and we're passing them on to you. Now you'll save like never before.
No, I'll come with you. I'll come with
flooring
you.
and area runs.
Bastards left me here. It's cold here, you motherfuckers.
The best weather reports in the city every 10 minutes on 680 News. Rona asked renovators how good they're feeling about getting outside this spring.
Are you kidding? Look at my smile.
This is Joe.
Oh, sorry. Look at my smile.
No, they can't see you.
Hey, dude, you're killing the vibe.
With free parcel delivery, curbside pickup, and DIY project videos, find everything you need for backyard projects at Rona.ca. Do more at home, outside. Conditions apply.
680 News Time, 5:26.
It's now time for the 680 News Business Report, and let's check in with Richard Sutherland.
Well, today is National Cheese Day. Yes, it certainly is something that's loved here in Canada. Research shows that cheese consumption has been steadily on the rise since the early 1980s. The average Canadian gobbles up 30 pounds of cheese a year. As for our favorite types, cheddar tops the list, no surprise there.
Oh, that's industrial milk.
Canada
Comes from the
also
US.
makes
What they
a lot
call
of cheese,
industrial milk
more
comes
than
from the US.
1,050 different varieties at last check.
Hot back and blow deadly, nigga stays in my hand. Can't talk it, it's too heavy, nigga. Yeah, hot back and blow deadly, nigga stays in my hand. Can't talk it, it's too heavy, nigga.
It's cheese day. Cheese day. All the cheese out there. All 30 pounds. It's supposed to be. I don't remember last time I had put cheese on the pizza. I don't remember the last time I bought cheese because it's way too expensive, eh? It's a price floor supply management bullshit that Justin dumped the milk down the drain over. Justin.
Yeah, you already know who it is. It's your boy, Playboy Bandit.
It's not a real bird. Let's see lights. Oh yeah, this city. They put the beepers into the blind people. There's a button people can press. It used to trigger the computer to let you know there's people waiting to drive. Now there's a sign that says
fly niggas since kindergarten liars. Shoot stupid kids been retarded.
Blind people.
I make the coke black when I'm in the market. I make the price drop like I'm in the target. I'm like a holy prophet trying to make a profit. Rough rider, legendary prospect. I ain't where I'm yet. Shut up my cousin, my friend, yo. 10-4 buys in my extender. 2 extra clips for the extra shit. And each whole 7, you getting blessed with it. Yeah, I got so much beef, my ex was stressed with it. Right, it was eye for an eye, Old Testament. Word. The bottom of wells, my heart swells. Treating these waters like shark tails. My homie got lashed, was all bail. I had waved the shit. Got tobacco with full rail. Rats used to see me on range and go tell. Catch him at court, stopping with Jordans like Martell. Swear to God, I would never pray to Jesus. For the extras, I'm a straight to people. Every day I pay for new AKs. That's Pablo.
Good afternoon. Here's what's making news this hour. Doug Ford unveils a new council on equality. The leader of that council says no, it's not because race is in the headlines.
We cannot wait for CNN to tell us that there's a problem.
Mourners gathered in Minneapolis to say goodbye to George Floyd.
Things can happen like this that advance your hope.
This is just one of many memorial services planned in major cities across the U.S. And the 3 suspects facing murder charges in the death of a black man out for a jog in Georgia will go to trial.
Police Chief Mark Saunders says what happened to George Floyd wouldn't happen in this city.
This organization does not train to this.
As he addressed systemic racism in Toronto. NBA Board officially approved a 22-team return in Orlando, and Saints quarterback Drew Brees apologizes for comments that have been dominating headlines. Sports 45.
Every day I pay for new AKs, I'm Chapo. Every day I pay for new AKs, that's Pablo. Every day I pay pay for new AKs. A chopper. Every day I pay for new AKs. Pablo. Every day I pay for new AKs. A chopper. Every day I pay for new AKs. Pablo. Every day I pay for new AKs. Look, the hottest kid in the kitchen, I've been nice. Thoughts of you double crossing me, think twice. The gold chains, gold in my mouth, case full of ammunition. Cocaine on my nosebleed, that's a Kathy Griffin. Bullets light up the night sky and they blame me, boy. Magnums in the back of the whip. They call me baby boy. My ATL send me your section 80, boy. The fuck do you think the mafia pay me for? Young, rich, and handsome. Bullets like an anthem. When they started singing, everybody put their hands up. Ain't nobody been doing the shit that I do. Dark void, how many hoes can I fit inside you? Scratched up with lines around them like the kids of I know. Put up with the Mac and fry them like this shit's a drive-thru. Angels will find you, but I would never pray to Jesus. For the extras, I'ma scrape the beakers. Yeah. Every day I pay for new AKs. Like Pablo. Every day I pay for new AKs. That was right. You love that. Did you hear that? Every day I pay for new AKs. Like Pablo. Every day I pay for new AKs. El Chapo. Every day I pay for new AKs. Like Pablo. Every day I pay for new AKs. El Chapo. Every day I pay for new AKs. Like Pablo. Every day I pay for new AKs.
Man, I don't remember the whole story. It's a Herbie movie. I just remember the little kid driving Herbie as a cab to make money. It's a little kid driving a cab. Nobody. Just suspended disbelief, right?
And for tomorrow, it's going to be another 36. So this will be with us.
Communities recover from the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. The province also creating a new council that will help vulnerable youth.
At Queen's Park today, here's 6 Eighties Mark Douglas. Premier Doug Ford announces the Council on Equality of Opportunity, and along with it, $1.5 million in funding for organizations that support Black families and youth. Chair of that new council is Jamil Javani. Javani says, yes, there is racial tension these days between Black communities and the police.
I think the term distrust is a great way to frame.
No, that's just like I don't know you. I know you real well. I know exactly what you're going to do and not going to do.
Just because of all the demonstrations in the U.S., Toronto, and through Ontario.
We cannot wait for CNN to tell us that there is a problem. We've been working on these issues for months.
And the Premier denies any connection in the timing of the announcements to the controversy this week about him saying Ontario does not have deep-rooted systemic racism like the U.S. does. The chair of the opposition NDP's Black Caucus, NDP Laura May Lindo, says after all the government funding cuts for anti-racism programs, these announcements today are a slap in the face to Black communities. I'm Mark Douglas.
Shut up. You're listening to 680 News at 5:35. Happening now in the United States, thousands of people have once again taken to the streets and cities across that country in a 10th day of protests following the death of George Floyd last week. Large groups marching in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia after memorials were held in remembrance of Floyd. In Minneapolis, family and friends, along with community and faith leaders, gathered to say goodbye and eulogize the 46-year-old. 680's Phil Martino joins us live with more on today's memorial. Phil.
Sarah, members of George Floyd's family, friends, and other mourners celebrated his life inside a sanctuary at North Central University. His nephew, Brandon Williams, was among those who eulogized the 46-year-old.
I mean, I'm a lot younger than that, but my grandmother raised me. I didn't have a father figure present in my life, so I grew up in the same house with them. And, you know, my uncles were more of a father figure in my life. And with Perry being an alpha male, you know, I gravitated to him. Coming up, I played sports. He did. You know, they kind of connected us, brought us real close.
Civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton talked about making America great.
Sports, because that's what they want. And then if you dance around for the white guys, they might give you some money. You know what's happening to the athletes right now? Yeah.
We gonna make America great for everybody for the first time.
Memorials are set to take place in 3 cities over 6 days next. Floyd's body will go to Rayford, North Carolina, where he was born, for a public viewing and private family service on Saturday. Meantime, a judge has set bail at $750,000 each for 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with aiding and abetting in connection with the death of Floyd. They made their first appearances earlier this afternoon. The Minneapolis Police Department fired them last week. They were arrested yesterday. Phil Martino, 680 News.
We're following some breaking news out of Georgia this afternoon, where the case against 3 white men charged with the murder of a black jogger in Georgia will now go to trial. A judge has ruled there is enough evidence for the cases against Greg and Travis McMichael and William Roddy Bryan to proceed. The 3 are charged with felony murder of Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot and killed after being chased down by 2 pickup trucks while on a run in February. Stay with 680 News for more on this developing story.
Returning to home, Toronto's police chief says the time for incremental change is over and that his organization is committed to restoring public trust in the wake of recent events. 680's Asher Roth is following this and joins us live with the latest. Asher.
Sarah, Chief Mark Saunders addressed recent events both here and south of the border, saying what happened to George Floyd still bothers him and that it's not what his officers are trained to do.
That is not what law enforcement is trained to do. We're there to preserve life. We're there to enhance community safety. And when you see that, they'll have their day in court. I will tell you, I was offended by it.
Saunders said the fact that the incident in Minneapolis was videotaped highlights the need for police in Toronto to wear body cameras, something that he says he supports. The chief also discussed public distrust in the police in his city, saying he's committed to working with the community.
I know you like that because you stole it. Looking at our regulations, looking at how we train, and using a racialized lens to figure out how they can be improved. And I'll tell you, there are times when we had it wrong. And they call us up and we make those changes.
As for growing questions about the limited police budget, which has now exceeded $1 billion, Saunders says he will communicate with the community on ways to reduce that budget without compromising the delivery of the services that the police provide. Reporting live, Asher Roth, 680 News.
You're listening to Toronto's only
the same fucking guns, 3 fucking tight whips. Got sent to be burned 3 fucking times.
Basketball one step closer to returning next month.
Back to the
details, here's Alex Sixero from Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Well, the plan is not official just yet because the players will hold a vote tomorrow. But today, the NBA Board of Governors voted 29-1 on resuming the season this summer. 22 teams will head to Orlando in the Disney complex, with play resuming July 31st, and each team will play 8 regular season games to determine playoff seeding. It's reported that teams are going to begin training camps in their own cities around June 30th, and then they will take their camps and move them to Orlando about a week later. But with the border issues we're having in Canada, the Raptors may just all meet in Orlando and start camp there. Other info we learned today, the season will conclude October 12th at the latest. The draft will run on the 15th. Free agency starts on the 18th. And next season is tentatively set to begin on December the 1st. From Sportsnet 590 The Fan, I'm Alex Sixero.
The rules surrounding face coverings are being extended today to include flight crews and all airport workers in restricted areas. Moves to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Some exceptions are being made for pilots. All air passengers are already required to wear face coverings.
Now time for the 680 News gas price update. And first, the price of gas will not change at midnight tonight. We're going to 97.9 cents a liter.
680 News time, 5:40.
This is 680 News.
Ciao, I'm Dominic Finucci. The safety and well-being of our employees, customers, and communities is our #1 priority. We are grateful for your continued support.
I'm sweating. I'm shivering.
Like 2 seconds every day. Thank you to all. Pizza remains open for contactless delivery and pickup.
Most likely garbage truck. Most likely. That's a good thing to hear, eh? Hey, just wait till you haven't heard them for 6 fucking weeks, because we went through however the fuck long it was. I got a dog that is. I had it so long, it's Never bothered to get the license. What am I supposed to do? The city, there's no animal services, no garbage collection, no nothing. This was 10 years ago. I'm smoking a fucking drunk. It's just sitting there. There's a bunch of weed sitting there. It's just asking to get rolled up and burn. I'm gonna take like an ice cold jacuzzi with some steaming. Hold on. Hot, boiling hot ice water jacuzzi with no bubbles. And then I'm gonna go in the bathtub with the squirty jet. I'm gonna drive people insane. You are discriminating against my
South Shepherd, and then eastbound 401 to Durham, a slow from Rock Road to east of Salem for the 680 traffic center.
You know you leave your food processor on every goddamn time you turn on your fucking computer, bro.
And that's east of Erin Mills Parkway. The right lane still blocked off as crews clean up a crash here, and it's heavy from east of Winston Churchill to east of Erin Mills Parkway. A bit of volume out of downtown on the Don Valley northbound from north of A.G. Bloor to York Mills, so maybe more than just a bit. But there only is a bit on the westbound Gardner. That's just slow by the X grounds, not too bad at all. On Keel Street, between Shepherd and Wilson at Whitburn, we have single-lane construction, and a traffic spotter just updated us. There's also a collision in this area at Calvington Drive, which is north of Wilson. That's not helping things at all. It's jammed up northbound on Keel. From Shepherd up to Whitburn, from northbound from Wilson up to Whitburn, past that crash, and then southbound on Keels, heavy from Shepherd down towards Whitburn with the collision and this construction as well. Download the great one, Wayne Gretzky, as he hooks up with Jim Jerome and Russ Cornwell to celebrate episode number 50 of Hockey's favorite podcast, The Suspendables. Your next report at 5:51, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
And temperatures right now still holding steady at 29, as there's just a...
It's a beater. Oh, there are so many like $2,000, $1,000 fucking racers and fucking, what do they call them again? Sleepers or some shit. Okay, all I see is smog. What the fuck happened? I'm not even gonna try to film it.
As we start the day, but that doesn't last very long as we head into the afternoon. Rain and then some thunderstorms for the evening, but cooling down as we head into the overnight 15 degrees for Friday night. Right now it's 29 at Pearson, feeling like 32, and tonight's overnight low 16.
680 News Time, 5:43.
Now the Scotia iTrade Market Minute, live from the Business Center. Here's Richard Southern.
Thanks, Sarah. A bit of a downturn for Bay Street today. It snaps a 3-day win streak. The TSX down 47 points, a third of a percent, to 15,527. Bit of weakness for some of the consumer names like Saputo, the cheesemaker, fell on earnings. We saw a bit of weakness for Canadian Tire as well. The Dow managed a small gain, up 11 points, 26,281. Largely owing to a continued rally for Boeing. S&P was down a third of a percent. The Nasdaq fell 67 points.
That's not far apart. That's
gold up $1,720. And the Canadian dollar trades at 74.02 cents. U.S. That's your market minute.
Although there's traffic lights.
Direct invest with Scotia iTrade. Get started in 3 easy steps and begin your investing journey from home today. Learn more at ScotiaITrade.com.
iTrade, and extraordinary moments. Today we are a community that has rallied our employees and partners to come together to create and deliver up to 10,000 meals a day to frontline workers in local shelters within the GTA.
Look at all the shelter people that moved into hotels.
Until we play again,
trying to fucking hate
at BringTorontoBack.com.
Look at all the frontline workers that are making all the people in shelters sick. Hey, can you give healthy food to those people so they don't get sick? Ah, fuck them. Can't all eat together? No, we won't eat with them.
Thank you to our tireless healthcare workers.
Will you let them clean up after? No, that's our work.
For staying home and helping to stop the spread. We are committed to moving our communities forward using the tools we have to keep our customers and employees safe. We are here to meet us. Learn more at 2minutetruck.ca.
This is All News Radio, 680 News.
We have a partly cloudy sky in downtown Toronto. It's 27 degrees. Good afternoon from the 680 News Broadcast Center. I'm Sarah Parrish.
I'm Steve Roberts here to tell stories right now.
So the province has announced the creation of a new advisory council that will provide advice on how young people can overcome social and economic barriers and achieve success. Ontario also pledging today to invest $1.5 million to help support Black communities communities impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, a judge in Georgia has ruled there is sufficient evidence to try 3 suspects for murder in the death of Ahmaud Arbery. The victim, who was black, was fatally gunned down while out for a jog back in February. No word yet on when the case will go to trial.
Every random fucking coronavirus kicks my fucking ass.
From Sportsnet 590, The Fan.
Oh, there's more than one coronavirus.
All right, Sarah, the NBA Board of Governors, by a vote of 29-1, have approved a summer plan for a 22-team restart.
You argue with me, bro. No, I didn't have
13 Western Conference teams and 9 from the East will take part in the season starting up on the 31st of July. We've also learned that the draft lottery has been set for August the 25th. The draft itself will run October 15th, and the NBA is planning to start next season on December the 1st.
So tell us about Oakville. This is the time slot you'll put it in.
Main best of 7 series, and the play-in round for when the Leafs take on the Blue Jackets will be a best of 5. Drew Brees has issued an apology for comments on disrespecting the flag, saying he completely missed the mark. On Wednesday, Brees said he will never agree with anybody taking a knee during the American anthem. The Saints quarterback says his words lacked awareness. And the National Lacrosse League has officially canceled the playoffs, thus putting a bow on the season. The NLL says they are now focusing efforts on the 2020-2021
I guess that's how we say yes.
Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour, or anytime at sportsnet.ca.
He doesn't have like a black eye or something, does he? Not a black guy. Black guy. Did a black guy hit him? No, that's not
Waiting
black
in line
guy.
for groceries means you have money for groceries. The isolation, being broke and totally
You
scared
were
of what
black
was next.
cops.
I was feeling that before
Black
this crisis.
cops. You're a
People
black
say we're in
cop.
this together, but me,
He was black
I've got no
cops.
one.
Youth who have aged out of the
I can't believe I have so many stuff. No, it's ridiculous. I think we're all fucking assholes.
They need your support. Please give today at helpyousnow.ca.
Yes, the black guy said to the white guy, you were black cops. Black cops.
Sound familiar?
No, I was black
My name is Aaron
ops.
Waxman, and if your disability
It took me a
insurance is
second to
not
understand
disability claim
what
for
just
any
happened.
reason, or if your employer threatens to fire you because you're too sick to work, call me 416.
I don't know what he thought it meant when the other guy said that to him. When he told him that's what he was, I don't know what he must have thought it meant. You were a black cop. Okay, you're all crazy. You must know what he thought.
But there are no bad questions.
You were working with, like, I don't know what he thought that must have meant.
Or on your cell phone at pound LTD.
680 News Channel.
We're all PC up here. A lot of other countries, they're very blunt to organizing people.
356 new cases of COVID-19 today, a small bump over the previous day. It comes as the city of Toronto reveals a plan to let restaurants and bars expand their patios, and the province making a big announcement about cottages. Here's our
you
Stuart
want us to hang out in the parking lot now? You don't want us to hang out inside. You want us to you want me to put the bandana on my face.
And sidewalks.
You don't think it's strange that I'm watching my money
and that the individual bar and restaurant owners are ready to proceed with these expanded patio offerings just as soon as we're able to do so.
No, it's going to be the same offerings.
Patios will come without the usual city fees, and there's been progress made with the Ford government on cutting red tape around liquor laws.
The mayor said there'd be expanded offerings. Don't tell me all you got is chicken.
The province, and those are largely resolved.
When all this will happen, still unknown. The Ford government saying within the next week they'll have a timeline on regional reopening and entering stage 2, but more restrictions are lifting as of midnight, allowing short-term rentals for things like cottages, homes, and B&Bs to operate as normal. I'm Stuart McGinn.
New federal modeling for the pandemic shows some positive signs in the fight against the virus, but also some serious concerns.
There goes 700 fucking get 85.
With most provinces and regions showing sharp declines in cases. But most populated provinces, Ontario and Quebec, remain
positive again.
making up more than 90% of cases in the last 2 weeks. The Toronto and Montreal areas are the biggest problems. The modeling also shows by June 15th, the totals for our country could hit up to 107,000 cases and 9,400 deaths. Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Teresa Tam also warning, as economies reopen, if we don't do it right, there could be very serious consequences.
If we relax too much or too soon, the epidemic will most likely rebound with explosive growth as a distinct possibility.
The Prime Minister also announcing the week of July 6th, seniors will receive their special one-time payment of up to $500 to help deal with rising costs in this pandemic. Meanwhile, Justin Trudeau also facing many questions about his refusal to specifically name President
President Donald Trump when discussing the unrest, violence, and anti-racism protests in the state. He says he'll stand up for Canadian values and express them, but still doesn't mention the president. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament.
Yeah, because in the history books and the video clips and things, they're going to be like, how he didn't acknowledge this at all.
Brought to you by 680 News Gets Answers, Airborne and Chopper 680, Jordan Kerr.
I was just flying over the 401 in Kennedy, and southbound on Kennedy, south of the 401, the two left lanes are still blocked off, all because of a
I don't think Justin knows how to deal with someone with so
It's hooked up to a tow now, and police are on scene, so hopefully he's out of there soon. Because
little amount of class.
It's barely moving down the south.
He's got no class.
The right lane is just barely squeezing by, and also competing with the ramps up the 401 to Kennedy. Nothing. It's slow on the 401 ramps to Kennedy, especially going westbound, as you're heading right into that southbound issue.
And you take any redneck, give them $3 billion, and they
we're just looking at
better at this than he is.
Busy from the 400, expressing collectors towards Dixon. That's clearing up. And on the eastbound 401, it's slow from Kipling to the 400. Delayed through Young to Davie with the express, and then busy through Leslie and the collectors. Then from Borden to Kennedy and the collectors. And then a delay east 401 approaching West City east of Salem. From the 680 traffic center, Kyle Hawking.
And that's dropping on the eastbound 403 as you travel through Erin Mills, east of Erin Mills Parkway. Still here, right by the Mississauga Road overpass. We've got the right lane blocked, and it's just heavy now from Erin Mills to east of it, so it has lightened up some, but it's still quite slow for a stretch. You'll also find a slow spot in the Toronto-bound QEW over the Burlington Skyway. Two left lanes still blocked for construction, so it's heavy just as you approach the Skyway there. And we have this construction/collision on Keele Street, south of Shepherd, is where we have the construction right by Whitburn, single-lane maintenance both north and south. And then north of Wilson, there was also a collision at Calvington Road. So it's very slow north and southbound on Keele between Wilson and Shepherd with a combination of those issues. Do you have questions about COVID-19? 680 News is working to get you the answers you need. Ask us anytime at 416-872-6800, and we'll work to get you the answer. Your next report at 6:01 with the extended forecasters purchased.
Well, it's hot and humid to end the week, but the weekend is
absolutely
stunning. So for tonight, evening temperature of 24 degrees, dropping down to 16 during the overnight rather, and then for tomorrow, 29.
Should I wash my toilet paper?
It feels like 36. Yeah, with that humidity, it's really not going to be a great hair day. As we head into tomorrow, we do have the chance for some thunderstorms as well as we head into the evening. But by the evening, starting to cool things down. 15 so low. And then for Saturday, 23, the high temperature refreshing. And we drop down to a low of 9 degrees on Saturday evening. So a bit on the cool side. And then for Sunday, 20 degrees with lots of sunshine. Right now, it's 29 in Pearson, 27 in downtown Toronto. Tonight's overnight low 16.
Where are you?
This extended forecast is brought to you by Concord Trailer Rental. Concord Trailer Rental is supporting increased demand with flatbeds and rental trailers for pickup or delivery.
What's 0 times 0? You have no friends, loser. Thank you, Google.
ConcordTrailerRental.com.
Yeah, I gotta try that. But I got Google to read it off my phone.
Based on Sally
Yes, you
Rooney's
did.
best-selling novel.
It takes fucking 3 fucking days to do it.
A series that critics are calling both epic and intimate.
And if you turn off the wrong app, you fuck the whole phone up and start over.
And a triumph in every way.
Why did you think that I could read your mind?
Supposedly, if I type in what's 0 times 0 in my phone, it's gonna fucking solve me.
Now streaming on CBC Gem.
So I don't think I'm missing out on that.
We're here with you,
Until regular life resumes and after.
giving you
It's not gonna ever resume. The play, pause, resume button is busted. We're strictly on playlist streaming with no selectability at all. I'll chirp at me. I'll chirp at you, motherfucker. Oh, that's listen to that. That is classic. Oh. Are there flames coming out of your exhaust, bro? And this Ghost Rider, eh?
Check it. No Dreamcast, let them know. I was born to grow up, abandoned and poor. Take medications that make me tired and also sore. I never asked for this, it just kinda came. Now I'm trying to make money, I'm after the fame. Parents blame me for everything that went bad. My dad was an alcoholic, he drank till he passed out. I lived in constant doubt, I always had to shout. I lived in about 100 different group homes. Never had the same bed for a month. I felt alone. They kept on changing my meds, they kept on changing my mood. My parents kicked me out of the mood. It's nothing new, that's how I was raised. Went through all elementary school getting hazed. I met this girl, my friendship went terribly wrong. But that's just another reason for emotion in this song. Life is what you make it. Through the thick and the thin. Being lost in the struggle, still striving to win.
The 20s is 1918, November. It's May, it's December. It's a
the devil makes what up? $100
Tim Hortons card that says let it snow.
Yeah, they ain't stopping us, eh? Nah, they ain't stopping us. Nah, check it. No Dreamcast, let them know. I was born to grow up, abandoned and poor. Take medications that make me tired and also sore. I never asked for this, it just kinda came. Now I'm trying to make money, I'm after the fame. Parents blame me for everything that went bad. My dad was an alcoholic, he drank till he passed out. I lived in constant doubt, I always had to shout to get my point across. I lived in about 100 different group homes. Never had the same bed for a month. I felt alone, they kept on changing my meds, they kept on changing my mood. My parents picked me up when I was 12. It's nothing new, it's nothing new. That's how I was raised. Went through all elementary school getting hazed. I met this girl, my friendship went terribly wrong. But that's just another reason for emotion in this song.
Say these crazy things to these baby Jesus.
Set to money, get mad is what I fantasize.
Mercedes on the fake.
Set to money, get mad is what I fantasize. Set to money, get mad is what I fantasize.
I love this one, but it's just not gonna buzz. Let's just fast and slow.
Go out to whoever made this beat. YG, you did your thing, man. But no disrespect, I ain't no nigga. I'ma rise for my motherfucking native. Most likely I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives, and I ain't going in unless I'm with my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my native, my native, my native, my native, my native, my native.
I need 6 failures. One for every color you got.
My natives, I do for my natives, for my natives. I put up for my natives, I show out for my natives, for my natives. I do this for my natives, I do this for my people, I do this for my tribe, I do this for myself. I gotta stay alive. My natives know what's up, cause my natives know what's down.
Monday, and today's Tuesday.
And it ain't no problem, we do the damn thing. With my BF 59, 50, 50, red, everything into perfectly right. I be moving and we're moving all damn night. I do this for my natives, I do this for my natives. But I'm just being praying, I'm just demonstrating. I was doing the red, for the rest of my life. You don't have problems. And my natives,
is suspicious.
Mourners gather in Minneapolis to say goodbye to George Floyd. This is just one of many memorial services planned in major cities across the U.S.
Chief Saunders says he's committed to regaining public confidence in the wake of recent events.
The time is now over for incremental change.
And he expects a protest planned for this Saturday to be peaceful.
Look at all that race-based data you got on the cards.
Charged with the murder
That's
of
why
a
it's called
black jogger
carding,
in
because you
Georgia
got cut off
will
being
go
able
to
to
trial.
put data into the secret computers because you kept all those things like yellow, keep calling me white. All the paperwork the government has is I'm not white.
Layoffs
It's
of Bombardier
ethnicity.
amidst
That's your
trading
bloodline.
picture on the markets and
It doesn't say I look white.
the cannot clock has been taking flight.
This is race. So they could classify me against my will as white and
All
franchise.
right, now time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Let's go airborne at Chopper 680. Mark
Oh, you touched the feather and we signed it. Yeah, fuck you. I know what that is. Is it in English? Contract's not valid.
Lane blocked either direction, just south of the intersection, all because of the crash. It looks like one truck tried to make a left turn out of the gas station here, and another car tried to keep going, and now they're not going anywhere. It's really jammed up northbound on Kiel, backed up from north.
That's what people in Toronto are. Yeah, now you're not going anywhere. 10,000 people are rolling by the
There was
house.
construction through here. That's been moved off to the side.
We're
So
doing
no
maybe
lanes are
like
blocked for
140.
construction anymore. But Whitford is closed on the west side of Kiel here because of, they're ripping up the road and repaving it. On the 401 to the south of me, I can see, it's very heavy right now on the eastbound 401 to Kiel. It looks like we got a new issue. Eastbound on the 401 on the ramp to Kiel, right lane blocked up. Looks like a stalled vehicle or a crash, but it's jammed at the start of the ramp. So just watch out for that. Be very careful as you take it. And eastbound 401 itself, just busy Warden McKennedy collectors from West City East to Salem from the 680
oversized Coca-Cola polar bear.
We still this problem on the eastbound 403 in Mississauga, east of Erin Mills Parkway. The right lane closed for a crash, so it is heavy from Erin Mills to east of it. It's right at the Mississauga Road overpass. Out of downtown, north Don Valley delays from Don Mills to York Mills. Westbound Gardner's fine though. Toronto-bound QEW over the Burlington Skyway, still two left lanes blocked for this construction, so that is causing a delay from, well, it's just as you approach the Skyway to about the top of it. Your next report at 6:11, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb. And it's still a warm evening out there, but lots of clouds rolling into our region. 24 is the evening temperature, 16 is the overnight low. We'll get into some clearing that leads to some sunshine for tomorrow, but it doesn't last for very long because those showers do move in, and then the chance for some thunderstorms by tomorrow afternoon and into the evening. And 29 will feel like 36, so another hot one on the way. 29 right now at Pearson, 27 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low 16.
680 News Time, 6:03.
You're one of those sick
announced over $1 million in funding to support black families in Ontario and help them recover from the impact of COVID-19.
680's Mark Douglas joins us from Queen's Park with the details on that and a new council to help youth.
There's $1.5 million in funding for organizations that support black families in youth and a brand new Council on Equality of Opportunity. Premier Doug Ford brushing off questions about how these announcements are coming after some controversial comments he made this week about Ontario not having deep-rooted systemic racism like in the U.S.
Our history is different than the United States. But we have our own history of racism here in Ontario. And that's been going on for decades.
And the chair of the new council, Jamil Javani, says this has been months in the planning, and these announcements are not a reaction to the current news cycle and just headlines on CNN.
We don't waiting for direction from what's happening in the United States.
The opposition NDP calling all this, quote, a slap in the face to black communities, unquote. A statement from MPP Laura May Lindo, chair of the NDP's Black Caucus and the critic for anti-racism, highlights millions of dollars in Ford government cuts to anti-racism initiatives. I'm Mark Douglas. You're listening to Toronto's only all-news radio stations. It's 680 News. Well, happening right now, thousands of people have once again taken to the streets in cities across the U.S. in a 10th day of demonstrations.
No, all the dance came from me dropping.
George Floyd, New York, Washington, D.C., and L.A. among the major cities represented this afternoon. Floyd was remembered today at a memorial service in Minneapolis, and our Phil Martino is on the story for us, joining us live now with more details. Phil.
Steve, George Floyd was mourned and celebrated at the memorial inside a sanctuary at North Central University today by friends, family, and dignitaries. A mural of the 46-year-old was projected above the pulpit with the message, "I can breathe now." His nephew, Brandon Williams, says he grew up in the same house as Floyd, and he called him a father figure.
We didn't have much, but coming up, My grandmother tried her best, and wherever she selected, he picked it up for me. He made sure I had sneakers and clothes and a lot of stuff like that, and I appreciate that.
In his eulogy,
Yeah, watch you on the street selling dope and acting stupid, did he? No.
That's what
Did that so you wouldn't have the fucking reason to. How did they trick these kids into you need sneaker money, you money for school? Fuck, listen to that shit. You don't need one.
And criminal justice, we need to go back to Washington.
Listen to the old people tell you how to spend money. Don't listen to these idiots.
Latino,
Just make more.
in the shadows of Lincoln, and tell them this is the time to stop this.
Damn serial number. I can't throw
Those
this out.
gathered at today's tribute stood in silence for 8 minutes, 46 seconds, the amount of time Floyd was alleged to be on the ground under the control of police. Meantime, a judge has set bail at $750,000 each for 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with aiding and abetting in connection with Floyd's death. The Minneapolis Police Department fired them last week. They were arrested yesterday. So Martino, 60
serial number for a lot.
Breaking news from Georgia, where the case against 3 white men charged with the February murder of jogger Ahmaud Arbery will go to trial. The judge has ruled there is enough evidence in the cases against Craig and Travis McMichael and William Roddy Bryan to proceed. At the hearing, an agent with the Georgia Bureau of Investigations testified that Travis was heard saying a racial slur as he stood over Arbery's body.
Mr. Bryan said that after the shooting took place, before police arrival, while Mr. Arbery was on the ground, that he heard Travis McMichael make the statement.
The 3 men have been charged with felony murder.
Well, closer to home, Toronto's police chief would not divulge what he knows about a protest planned for this Saturday, but he says he expects it to be peaceful. He discussed this and systemic racism both here and south of the border today. And 680's Asher Roth has been following the story for us and joins us live now with more details. Asher.
Yeah, Steve, Chief Mark Saunders acknowledged that public trust in the police has been eroded by recent events, both here and in the United States, and he wants to fix that.
The time is now over for incremental change. We as members of the Toronto Police Service are also grieving at the recent events, but we are hoping that as a community, we can all continue to work together.
He says that since becoming Toronto's first Black police chief, he has worked with communities to determine ways that his force provides value and has emphasized the need for positive engagement in officer training procedures. Saunders was also asked what he knows about a protest planned for Saturday afternoon in honor of Regis Korchinski-Paquette, which appears to have prompted many downtown businesses to board up their windows.
I can tell you, through my frontline officers, the vast majority of people that have gone to the protests in the city of Toronto have been peaceful. There's a lot of passion, there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of hope. And I hope that as Torontonians, we continue to do that.
He also pointed out that in recent protests, peaceful demonstrators have worked to root out those with violent agendas, and he hopes that continues this weekend. Reporting live.
Hey, who's the fucking one that charged with murder, motherfucker?
Toronto's mayor has unveiled a new Quick Start program to allow more outdoor dining when restaurants and bars get the go-ahead to reopen. And the province is giving the green light for some short-term rentals to get running again. Here's our Stuart McGinn.
Parking lots, sidewalks, even extending past the curb onto city streets. That's where Toronto says we'll see patios once they're able to reopen. Part of a new program called Cafe TO. Restaurants and bars are being encouraged to get ready, open or expand their existing outdoor spaces, and they won't have to pay the typical city fees.
They will get extra revenue generation, but won't have to pay extra fees to us, and thus this will help those struggling businesses.
Mayor John Tory says it's not clear when we might see service in the patio season, but hinted Canada Day could be a possibility. Meanwhile, along the lines of spring and summer activities, as of midnight, the province is lifting restrictions on short-term rentals, including homes, B&Bs, and cottages. It comes on a day where nearly 21,000 tests were completed, while we saw a spike of 45 deaths in the newest numbers, and new cases held relatively steady at 356. I'm Stuart McGinn.
All right, now time for the 680 News gas price update. And Pro says no change actually at midnight tonight. It's going to hold at 97.9 cents a liter.
60 News Time, 6:10.
It was 89.5. I don't know what it is now.
So, you're moving to a new home, and all that's left to do is to call a mover you know you can trust. Well, naturally,
they aren't doing 0.9 no more. They're doing 0.5.
Since you know they have lots of men and lots of trucks.
Then it adds up to 5 cents.
Everything you want.
You actually
With a
get
96% referral rating and the professionalism you can trust. The choice is simple.
Oh, these guys are also, I see before this COVID thing, I used to see them cleaning the fucking pumps, wiping down the pumps on like a regular basis.
It's 80 News Time, 6:11.
It's now time for traffic and weather together on one.
No
Let's go
brand, there's a logo and no name.
We still have issues, and unfortunately, nothing's really changed.
That's how good the brand. I've known what the station is forever.
Wilson and Shepherd and Calvington, the left lane's blocked in either direction because of the crash. Two vehicle collision.
The name of the station ain't on there. No name of the station. No matter what it says on the map.
Northbound delays are bad, but southbound Kiel very heavy from approaching Whitburn. And speaking of Whitburn, Whitburn itself is closed on the west side of Kiel, all because of construction. Now, to the south of me, just looking at a minor issue on the eastbound 401 ramp to Kiel. Part of the right lane blocked up with a stalled tractor trailer, not causing a delay anymore. We have a couple of other ramp issues as well, closures due to construction. The eastbound 401 ramp to Curtis Road is closed down. The westbound 401
Is that about homeboy? What's 3 glasses mean? I don't remember. 10 means they're about to overtake another train. Which is weird because they're on separate tracks, right? But I see boxcars. I think those are grain hoppers. I'm not sure. You tell the government of Canada because it says government of Canada on them, but only on one side. When the train goes back the other way, I'll know for sure.
So we still have a delay here from, well, let's see. Actually, it's not too bad. It is still slow from approaching the 401 to south of it. That'll evaporate rather quickly, I would think, now that transport's been cleared. Your next report at 6:21, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
The delay is not that bad, but it's there.
But 28 still feels like 32. Those winds have eased off. They were really swirling around this afternoon, but lots of cloud cover here in the city and even out at Pearson as well, and it's lifting further north. So where we had high clouds earlier, now it's just pretty dense cloud cover across the region as we head into the overnight. Things start to clear out. That leads to some sunshine to start our Friday, but that does not last the entire day. We have more clouds rolling in ahead of our next system that brings rain and some thunderstorms as well tomorrow. 29 will feel like 36, and then it's cooler after that, which is great news. Right now, 28 at Pearson, 27 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low, 16.
I've never seen those before in my life. What are those?
Now the Scotia iTrade Market Minute. Let's check in at the Business Center with Richard Souther.
Mixed finish for North American markets. Here are the closing numbers. The Nasdaq's in Toronto
with no lettering on it whatsoever.
A third of 1%, down to 15,527. Wall Street, a little bit mixed. The Dow closing up 11 points, 26,280.
Oh, there's squares of paint over top of whatever it was there.
The Nasdaq down 67. So no major moves here after what's been a pretty strong rally for stocks this week, and indeed the last 2 months for that matter. At the price for oil tracking higher today, it was up 12 cents on the futures contract at $37.41 per barrel. Price for gold higher by about $18 at $1,723 US the ounce. Canadian dollar's been on a tear, but it backed off just a little bit today, down to 73.99 cents US. At the Business Center, I'm Richard Souther.
Direct invest with Scotia iTrade. Get started in 3 easy steps and begin your investing journey from home today. Learn more at scotiaitrade.com. During a pandemic, obtaining authentic personal protective equipment can be a serious challenge. Protect yourself, your employees, and customers with PPE from SteriPro.ca. SteriPro.ca.
Je pense que c'est la saveur du moment parce que pour que ça reste, il y a tout un temps à faire derrière. Donc le tout, ce n'est pas par rapport à l'événement malheureux comme celui qui se passe aux États-Unis, et se dire, bon, ok, il faut consommer noir, il faut consommer Black Honor, des slogans, entre guillemets, de la sorte. Après 2-3 mois, je pense qu'on ne parlera plus avec un nouvel événement pareil pour descendre dans les rues.
Alors, plusieurs pensent qu'il faut plus qu'un mouvement sur les réseaux sociaux, comme M. Dunguet. Il faut embaucher davantage de personnes noires. Les employeurs devraient suivre des formations anti-racisme et en offrir auprès de leur équipe, entre autres choses.
Merci beaucoup, Juliane.
Je vous en prie.
Notre correspondante à Toronto, Juliane Lamoureux.
Vous écoutez Jean-Sébastien Bernatchez et son équipe sur Ici Première.
Le nombre de cas de COVID-19 dépassait légèrement les 93 700 en fin de journée au pays. Le nombre de décès s'élevait à plus de 6 650. Plus de 51 700 personnes étaient rétablies. 356 cas et 3 décès de plus en Ontario dans le bilan présenté aujourd'hui. On ira au Nouveau-Brunswick dans un instant, dans quelques minutes. Et au Québec, 259 cas de plus dans le bilan dévoilé cet après-midi. 91 décès supplémentaires, 26 de plus par rapport à hier. Les autres remontant avant le 28 mai. Radio-Canada.ca/COVID-19, bien sûr, ce grand tableau général qu'on vous propose sur notre site web. Je joins notre analyste politique Martine Biron à Québec. Martine, l'Assemblée nationale a repris ses travaux. La joute politique aussi a repris et le gouvernement de François Legault veut faire adopter son projet de loi 61 sur la relance rapide de l'économie.
Oui, c'est un projet de loi très politique, à l'image de François Legault, qui est un dirigeant qui est pressé, qui déteste la bureaucratie et qui n'aime pas tellement se coltailler avec les contre-pouvoirs. Alors, le gouvernement dit vouloir accélérer la relance économique et il propose dans son projet de loi une série de projets d'infrastructure. Il y en a 202 en annexe du projet de loi, maison des aînés, rénovation, construction d'écoles, construction aussi de routes, tramway, la ligne bleue à Montréal. Mais pour y arriver, M. Legault veut sauter des étapes. Il veut se donner, en fait, des pouvoirs exceptionnels. Les partis d'opposition, aujourd'hui, on dit qu'ils craignaient une explosion des coûts. Quand on ne prévoit pas tout, il y a souvent des extras. On brandit la commission Charbonneau, le retour de la corruption dans la construction. C'est sûr qu'on craint aussi des passe-droits sur la loi en environnement. Les procédures d'expropriation sont aussi facilitées dans le projet de loi, sans appel pour les gens touchés. Procédure aussi d'appel d'offres accéléré. Alors, M. Legault confirme qu'il veut sauter des étapes, mais il dit « Je ne veux pas réduire les exigences, je veux seulement réduire les délais. » C'est sûr que dans un contexte où le taux de chômage est à 17% au Québec en avril, on s'en va vers une crise économique importante. On veut accélérer les projets. Mais le diable est souvent dans les détails. Je vous donne deux exemples. Les libéraux disent que la CAQ favorise ses circonscriptions. Prenez les maisons des aînés. Il n'y en a que 2 projets à Montréal, 4 à Québec, 8 dans le Bas-Saint-Laurent. Et les besoins sont importants à Montréal. On peut se poser la question. Mais plus encore, le gouvernement veut se donner ses pouvoirs exceptionnels pendant 2 ans. Ça veut dire que d'autres projets pourraient bénéficier de cette voie rapide. Et 2 ans, où est-ce que ça nous mène? Ça nous mène en 2022 pour le rendez-vous électoral. Donc, M. Legault aurait la voie libre jusqu'à la fin de son mandat. Et M. Legault voudrait adopter ce projet de loi-là d'ici la fin de la session, le 12 juin. Écoutons-le.
On veut l'adopter avec l'appui des partis d'opposition.
Quitte à pas l'adopter.
Mais on aimerait l'adopter parce que je pense que ce serait malheureux de perdre des mois de travail pour beaucoup de gens en construction à cause d'une certaine partisanerie.
Mais ça va prendre...
This afternoon in a peaceful Black Lives Matter protest. They gathered in downtown around 3 o'clock this afternoon and were planning to walk along Lakeshore Road and through Care Village. Organizers say masks are mandatory, though, and were mandatory through that demonstration. Halton police say they were aware of the march and were telling people to be conscious of physical distancing rules. The province has now temporarily transferred management of a Vaughan nursing home to the William Osler Health System. Woodbridge Vista Care has been struggling to contain the spread of COVID-19, even with the number of hospital staff stepping in to help. So far, 17 residents have died at the home and more than a dozen have been hospitalized. At least 80 residents and 25 employees have tested positive for COVID-19. The Ministry of Long-Term Care says the first round of testing of residents and staff at all long-term care homes in this province is now done. Additional rounds of testing, though, are underway. And 680 News is working for you, trying to get the answers you need to any questions you might have about COVID-19. Toronto's Associate Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Vanita Dubé, joined our web team for a question and answer session today. And our listeners wanted to know, what are the rules about leaving Ontario? Do you have to self-isolate when you return?
Right now in Ontario, it does say that if you've traveled outside Ontario, there may be some considerations made for self-isolation when you return. And right now, if you leave Ontario and you've been to a place that's a hotspot, then it's definitely recommended that you self-isolate. the guidance on, well, if I went to this place, do I have to self-isolate or not, it's not clear. And so I think if you're planning to go somewhere specific and you're wondering, then I think you can, follow up with us at Public Health and maybe we can give you some more guidance on that.
And if you do happen to have any questions and you want anything answered, you can direct message us on Instagram or call the 680 News listener line at 416-872-6800. 680 News Time, 621. Time now for traffic and weather together on the ones up in Chopper 680. Here's Jordan Kerr.
We have an issue on the eastbound 401 in Oshawa. The ramp to Stevenson has been closed off. It's all because of a crash. And eastbound 401 is jamming up really fast approaching Stevenson because of this issue. Before all that, eastbound 401 is busy through Salem, so it's slow as you head out of Ajax. And then jammed in Oshawa approaching Stevenson to where the ramp.
De montrer patience, j'en parle avec notre journaliste Michel Chabot. Alors, Michel, dites-nous d'abord ce que la ministre déléguée à l'Éducation et responsable des sports du Québec dévoilait aujourd'hui.
Isabelle Charret, qui avait une bonne nouvelle pour les adeptes d'activités sportives, particulièrement pour les jeunes qui souhaitent retrouver leur sport collectif de prédilection. Mais attention, ce sera un déconfinement très graduel, comme nous l'a dit la ministre Charret.
J'ai donc aujourd'hui le plaisir de vous annoncer la reprise progressive, et j'insiste sur progressive, des sports collectifs extérieurs le soccer et les sports pourront reprendre graduellement dès cette date pour vous qui respectez les règles de distanciation, les activités se déroulent à l'extérieur. Donc, voilà, les règles de distanciation de 2 mètres doivent être respectées en tout temps. Dans un premier temps, les activités se dérouleront sous la forme d'entraînement supervisé ou de concours de pilote.
Une autre annonce devrait être faite à la fin du mois, Michel.
Et ça, c'est la vraie grosse nouvelle, je vous dirais, pour les jeunes sportifs, c'est que si tout se passe bien, des matchs adaptés aux consignes de distanciation devraient être autorisés à la fin du mois, donc fin du mois de juin. Donc, dans à peu près 3 semaines.
The thunderstorms roll in along with rain showers tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, and then the humidity breaks. 15 is the low tomorrow evening. 23 for Saturday, 20 for Sunday. Lots of sunshine all weekend long. Cool northwest breeze, so it will make it feel quite comfortable and more spring-like in the GTA. Right now, it's 28 at Pearson, 27 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low 16.
And coming up at the bottom of the hour, the Ford government announcing a creation of a new advisory council to help young people overcome these socio and economic barriers and achieve some success. We'll have details on that. And we are following some happening news out of the U.S. this afternoon, where we have a number of demonstrations again underway for a 10th straight day. Following the
experience was sort of like, oh, this school is different from that school. They don't do this. This is like,
a new mom isn't easy.
It's not really, the schools are different. The laws, the rules and things.
Loving's easy. And baby feed drops are easy too. Simply apply just 1 drop where baby feeds. There's no taste, so it doesn't interfere with feeding. Pediatricians recommend vitamin D daily for breastfed infants. Baby D drops, the sunshine vitamin in just 1 drop.
680 News Time, 624. Mayor John Tory says he agrees with small business owners who are calling for a ban on commercial evictions. According to a new survey, 72% of small businesses say they could not make all of June's rent. Tory was asked about the issue during a news conference today.
So I will just say this. I've been calling for some time for a ban on commercial evictions. I think it takes those who haven't engaged in any sensible behavior, common sense behavior on this, and just says to them,
you think they're going crazy? No, you're singing a different answer than everybody thought.
Doug Ford doubling down on
it's politically correct.
who have been serving eviction notices instead of applying for government help.
The country wasn't politically correct the last 200 years. All of a sudden, we're going
to play hardball. Well, new security measures are now in place at the White House.
New fencing and concrete barriers were put up around the White House on Thursday, the latest effort to keep demonstrators away from the complex. Last night was the 6th consecutive night of demonstrations near the White House. The scene on Wednesday was calm, with large peaceful crowds gathering in the streets for hours. President Trump is expected to travel to his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey for the weekend. He hasn't spent the night away from the White House since March 7th, when he stayed at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Oh, he's not scared to go to. I wasn't in the bunker. I was just
standing by with the latest in business.
680 News Time, 625.
Doctors are good people.
I
And
would
only
use
want
that
what's
ton of
good for their patients.
So
if they say you can't work, I believe them, and so should your long-term disability insurance. My name is Aaron Waxman, and if your long-term disability claim has been denied, call me at 416-661-4878. And don't worry about upfront legal fees, because there are none. At my law firm, we only get paid when you get paid. And before you call, you should always remember that there are no bad questions. 416-661-4878 or on your cell phone at pound LTD.
Here's to the road ahead. Here's to haircuts, homes, and holidays. Here's to the things we miss and look forward to. Here's to Canada and Canadians. And if it's time for a new car, here's to you from Honda. Right now, lease the 2020 Honda Civic LX from just $59 weekly at 1.99% and $0 down, including the $1,000 Honda bonus. And shop safely with enhanced safety procedures in all dealerships.
I wouldn't go
Here's
for
to the
lease
power of determination. And here's to the road ahead. Includes rate fees for 60 months, taxes extra, OAC. See HondaOntario.com.
Goddamn Yugo, goddamn it.
The 680 News Business Report. Let's check in the business
Finest in
center.
Japanese engineering and unionized. They got plants here. I can't remember what's been with. I'm pretty sure the city's
bottomed out in late March,
No,
down
it's
to
the
about
number one
68 cents
stolen car.
US. Since then, though,
Place
it's
for
gained
car
about
stealing.
6
That's
full
right here, the
cents
GTA.
to where it stands today at 74.03 cents US.
GTA,
It takes around $1.34, a little bit less Canadian, to buy $1 US before all the service charges. Part of the reason for the loonies spreading
That's a
its wings
GTA
as
5 or something. They talk about a video game, or GTA is just where we are.
88% in the last month. But the real reason the Canadian dollar has come back to life is actually
spy
the
on
US
us
dollar.
and
Investors flocked to the greenback in search of a safe haven during March. Since then, though, traders have been looking for more risk, and that's led them out
what the proper
of the U.S. dollar. Now, some currency experts warn the loonie may not have much more room to fly because a lot of the good news in relation to the recovery from COVID-19 has already been built in. On the markets today, a mixed finish here. The TSX was lower. It fell.
And what the fuck would I do in the
down
apartment? Wait for the police to come take me back to wherever?
15,527. The Dow was up 11 points at 26,281. The S&P, though, down 1/3%, and the NASDAQ down 67. So just the Dow managing to turn out a positive session. Boeing helped with that. It was up 6.4%. News that more airlines in the States are adding summer trip. A company called Zoom Info went public on Wall Street today, not to be confused with Zoom Video, although who knows, perhaps some traders did confuse it. Zoom Info is a business-to-business database software firm. It opened at $21, closed at $34. Speaking of Zoom Video, it fell 6% to $210 the share. The price for gold up $22 today, $1,727 the ounce, and again the loonie just above 74 cents US. Top stories next on 680 News. Local news, weather, and traffic as it happens.
680 News.
Lowe's would like to raise a hammer to everyone who got used to their new conference room. What was that? We're looking at page 6 right now. We're talking about
okay.
For Q3. Is that clear? You've made it to spring. And it's
the only play button it's got, if I press it, it's hardwired to pull up some weird built-in media player.
And enjoy free
Well, you think if I could press play on the keyboard,
conditions apply.
if I press play on the remote, it fucks it up. All the other buttons work, sort of.
You have more important things to do than be stuck in traffic.
That's why I'm not in traffic.
Traffic reports only on 680 News. With TD Insurance, there are so many ways to save. We can't fit them all in this
I wonder how much ice cream bicycle would cost.
Alumni professional preferred rates.
Discount,
online quote discount, mortgage free discount, multi-vehicle discount, driver savings, driver discount, driver's license discount, condition free savings, tax free savings, small mileage savings, right discount, multi-bike discount, and many more. Over 30 ways.
I can fucking do that. You sell ice cream.
TD Insurance savings
Grab me, I'll get you with a goddamn shit.
Learn more and get a quote at TD Insurance.
I don't know what accent I'm
All right, let's take a look at Caroline's latest forecast. For tonight, we are expecting some increase in clouds. We will see a little bit of clearing overnight. The low down to 16. Tomorrow, weather sunshine to start off the day, but some chances of some afternoon rain. Thunderstorms are possible by the time we get into the evening. And it's still going to be warm, a high of 25 degrees. Right now in downtown Toronto. Forecast conditions and 27. 680
My thoughts jumping back and forth that many times in one day. Back and forth. Is the policy like that fucked up? Isn't everybody just sitting at home doing the same shit all day? I can't get a fucking digital clock in the world. Show me seconds. I don't know why.
Friends, family, and political and faith leaders gather in Minneapolis for a memorial service for George Floyd.
Somebody I can count on no matter what.
Memorials are being staged in every major city in the U.S.
Toronto's police chief addresses systemic inequality,
especially when it comes to anti-black racism.
And he says the time for incremental change is over.
The vote was 29-1. NBA Board of Governors approved a 22-team restart at Disney World. Players will vote tomorrow. And Drew Brees takes to social media apologizing for Wednesday's comments. Sports 45.
Signs the life of the travel business. Airlines adding more flights, and they're rolling the dice again in Vegas. TSX lower, Dow higher, business at 56.
It's wrong. It's wrong. The numbers are wrong.
News time, 6:31.
It's time for traffic and weather together on the ones, brought to you by AGMRenovations.com. Airborne and Chopper 680. Here's Jordan Kerr.
A serious crash on Oshawa right now. It's closed. The eastbound 401 ramp to Stevenson. All because of a serious collision. Eastbound 401 is jammed from Dixon to Stevenson, where the ramp has been closed off. Air ambulance was trying to land there. Hopefully landed by now. Good idea to maybe take an alternate, like Lord through this stretch. On the eastbound 401 after that, the right lane's blocked for construction. The ramps to Curtis Road and the 418 are closed down. On the westbound 401, the ramps to the 418 and Curtis Road are also closed down for construction, and the Holt Road ramps to West 401 are closed down. Construction for the 680 Traffic Center. Kyle Locking. We still have this problem on the eastbound 403 east of Erin Mills, right at the Mississauga Road overpass. The right lane is blocked for crash cleanup. Delay's gone here, though, so you're flowing past that smoothly. It was at one point causing a heavy delay, but now it's not too bad. The problem we had on the southbound 427 at Dixon Road has cleared. Still vehicle worked off the road. The only delay on the highways outside the East 401 in Oshawa is northbound Don Valley from Edmonton to York Mills, still a bit slow. Still very slow as well on Keel, north and southbound. North of Wilson, we have the left lane blocked each way for a collision at Calvington. And southbound Bayview really heavy from 16th down to Highway 7 because of single lane construction. Working from home on the couch with kids, turn your basement into a home office suite from $4.90 a month. Visit AGMRenovations.com. Your next report at 6:41, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
Well, today lived up to the hype. We had a lot of sunshine, but now here come the clouds. And these don't have much moisture in them, so it's just cloud cover that we deal with, dropping down to 24 during the evening. 16 is our overnight temperature, and then tomorrow's another hot and humid day. It's the last of the heat and humidity for a little while. 29 is the high. Some sun to start the day, but rain showers and thunderstorms by the afternoon and evening, and it will feel like 36. Right now, 28 at Pearson, 27 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low, 16.
680 News time, 6:33.
Ontario is creating an anti-racism council that will help young people in this province get ahead in life. The Ford government also announcing today an investment to help Black communities weather the COVID-19 storm.
And 680's Mark Douglas is in Queen's Park with more on the initiative. In reaction, Doug Ford is giving out $1.5 million to organizations that support Black youth. But that's not all.
We're launching the Premier's Council for Equality of Opportunity.
Chair of the council, Jamil Giovanni, says the pandemic was bad enough, but the past week or so has seen a whole new layer piled on top.
This weight of racism and fear and despair.
But Giovanni says all this work was months in the planning, and the timing of these announcements has nothing to do with George Floyd's stories on CNN.
These issues don't just exist when everyone's paying attention.
The Premier again stepping back from controversial remarks he made this week about Ontario not having deep-rooted systemic racism like the U.S. has. The opposition critic for anti-racism is not buying any of this.
Because you asked them about people rioting and shit, eh? Like, why aren't the niggers up here rioting?
Billions of dollars in funding cuts to anti-racism programs.
It was basically the line of question. I fucking do vaguely remember was why.
I'm Mark Douglas.
Happening now across the U.S., a 10th day of protests continues in several cities, including Washington, L.A., Philadelphia, and New York City.
One guy is not racist. Makes it the Premier. He's from the hood.
Floyd. Meantime, a memorial service was held this afternoon for Floyd in downtown Minneapolis. Just one of many planned across the
Oh,
country.
you said something controversial about race. You said something controversial about race. Hold on.
Service film. Sarah, inside the sanctuary at North Central University, an image of George Floyd was
you said something controversial.
with the message,
we all missed what you read into
family
something.
members, civil rights activists,
You were asking about why people
were
fucking.
To the 46-year-old, his brother talked about
why,
growing up.
How do you feel about them putting the boards on the window?
I love my brother, man. We had so many memories, you know, together. I remember him waking me up, telling me, "Hey, man, can you iron my clothes for me?" And I look at him, but then I look at his size and I say, "You right, big bro, you right."
Beverly was at a gathering not far from the service where the public was able to listen to the proceedings. I was here when he died. And so that's why I wanted to be here. I have two sons. In his eulogy, the Reverend Al Sharpton denounced racism and called for accountability in the criminal justice system. He said the reason we could never be who we wanted to be and dreamed of being is you kept your knee on our neck. Meantime, the judge has set a bail at $750,000.
Yeah, you said nigger, yes,
police officers charged with aiding and abetting in connection with Floyd's death. They made their first appearance. They made their court appearance earlier this afternoon. The Minneapolis Police Department fired them last week when they were arrested yesterday. For Martino, 680 News.
In Georgia now, a judge has ruled there is enough evidence to try 3 suspects on murder charges in a fatal shooting of a Lamont artery. Evidence revealed in court this afternoon alleges that the young black man was repeatedly
one mistake cited, we cited
well, investigators
lived here 300 years ago, eh? Like
killing Arbery was heard saying a racial slur as he stood over his body moments after hitting Arbery with 3 shots from a pump-action shotgun.
I know what you just said. You just made 2. You just
claims of self-defense during a citizen's arrest attempt that could factor into a federal hate crime investigation.
680 News Time, 6:37. Police Chief Mark Saunders discussing systemic racism in Toronto this afternoon, saying his organization is working to regain community trust in the wake of recent events. 680's Asher Roth joins us live with more on what the chief had to say. Asher.
Sarah, Chief Saunders says recent events, both around the world and here in Toronto, have shown that the time for incremental change is over.
We will 40 miles an hour.
We will continue through words and actions to help restore any public trust that is fractured, especially when it comes to anti-black racism.
He said the key to regaining that trust is to continue the work that he's done since becoming police chief 5 years ago, including adding an additional day of community engagement training and to continue to work with members of the black community discussing police procedures and regulations. Saunders also defended his force's budget, which is over $1 billion.
Our budget is created with community. We are transparent in our spending. We are cognizant of our role in helping the city's goals of providing the necessary resources for every Toronto citizen.
And when asked about the death of George Floyd, Saunders says what happened to Floyd still bothers him. He was offended by it, that his officers are not trained to use knee-to-neck restraints like in that incident. Reporting live, Asher Roth, 680 News.
The City of Toronto has unveiled a new program designed to help the restaurant and bar industries get back on their feet. This is the province announced it will soon let short-term rentals like cottages, condos, and others resume operations. Here's our Stuart McGinn.
The city's new program comes without the typical patio fees and aims to help restaurants and bars get back on their feet.
Cafe TO is a quick
That's a whole bunch of fucking
that will make
problems.
it easier for restaurant and bar owners to open patios, to expand patios, and to access additional space for physical distancing.
The mayor says announcing this now allows these facilities to be ready to open whenever the province allows them to. And while that timeline is still unclear, John Tory hinted right around Canada Day could be achievable. Meanwhile, at the provincial level, as of midnight, short-term rentals will once again be permitted for homes, B&Bs, and cottages. All of this comes on a day where new cases held steady at 356. There were 45 new deaths in the province, but we surpassed our daily testing goal, completing nearly 21,000 swabs for COVID-19. I'm Stuart McGinn.
Our defending champ, Toronto Raptors, will likely return to the court next month.
Shitload of rocks and all the sewer grates and shit
Sportsnet
again.
590, The Fan.
Well, the Portland Trailblazers were
The
the
water
only team to
literally
vote
rushes
no
and
as
runs
this
them
afternoon.
down the
The
hill,
NBA
right?
Board of Governors, by a vote of 29-1, approved a plan to restart the
Oh, but
season.
they're not, there's
Now,
nothing so
22
far
teams
up
will
there
embark
back
on
up
Disney
the
World
street.
in Orlando,
They're
and the
back
season
to
is
the
going
same
to run
level
from
they
July
were
the 31st to October the
snow
12th. Each team will take part in 8 regular season games. That'll help determine playoff seeding. And when things do
resume. The Raptors will have a 3-game lead over the Celtics for second place in the Eastern Conference. There could also be a play-in tournament to decide who's the 8th seed in both the East and the West. Sounds like teams are going to begin training at the Disney complex around July the 9th, and there will be daily testing available for players and coaching staffs. Only thing left to do is for the players to vote yes on the plan, and that is expected when they hold a conference call tomorrow. From Sportsnet 590 The Fan, I'm Alex Xero.
And now talk to the 680 News gas price update. Info says actually no change at midnight tonight. Should hold at 97.9 cents a liter.
680 News Time, 640.
680 News.
Find a car today. Away. Visit OntarioCars.ca.
That's me, my friend, and I'll offer a little advice. Why scour the city looking for a used car? Visit OntarioCars.ca and find a large selection to choose from.
Another black and yellow box. Okay, hold on. Okay, 2, 3, 4. Okay,
that's trusted sellers too, and all purchases are protected by a compensation fund. Find your gem at OntarioCars.ca.
Are those new boxes? Did you guys buy new boxes?
It is time for traffic and weather together on the ones. It's brought to you by Leon's Furniture. Airborne and Shopper 680, Jordan Kerr.
Via the 401 or just north of it. And the 401 through Toronto is fine, but east of Toronto we have several ramp closures. One of them
everywhere that's near railroad, I want them all to have the spur.
Get shit delivered by rail. It's closed all because of a serious crash. We did have an area ambulance
what if we got like once a year sitting in the fucking canned milk or some shit?
Because of this ramp closure.
But it only costs us 5 cents a can. Like, what the fuck?
Issue with construction at Harmony, the right lane is closed down.
Are you bringing Saudi oil back to sell to BC? Or are you empty from bringing tar sands oil to Nova Scotia to be refined? Because you're confusing me too.
Because of construction as well, and the whole road ramps to West 401 closed down. For the 680 Traffic Center, Kyle Hawking.
The neighbor on
the eastbound 403 east of Erin Mills Parkway. Right lane is blocked with a collision here, still being cleaned up. Involving a transport truck with heavy tow on the scene along with other crews. No delay through this area any longer, but watch out for that lane restriction. It's right at the Mississauga Road overpass on the east 403, right lane blocked. Outside of that, not a bad drive around the GTA. We have a delay on the southbound 400 from Highway 9 down to Aurora Road. This is one of the few very heavy sections on the highways. This is because of construction blocking 2 left lanes. So this section of the 400 southbound is reduced to a single right lane getting through that construction zone. Crash on Keel, north of Wilson at Calvington is clear. Delays gone there. It is heavy though on Bayview now, not only southbound but also northbound between 16th Avenue and Highway 7. Single lane construction both ways. So we're dealing with north and southbound delays on Bayview now because of that maintenance. Leon's anniversary sale is on now. Shop anniversary specials throughout the showroom on furniture, mattresses, and appliances. Shop safely in store or online. Visit Leon's.ca for details. Your next report at 6:51 with the forecast. Here's Carl Lamb.
Well, it's cloudy and dry in the GTA right now, and temperatures only dropping down to 24 during the evening, so a very comfortable evening for a walk or a run or just taking the dog out. It is really nice during the overnight as well. 16 is the overnight low with some clearing. It leads to a little sunshine to start our Friday, but don't get used to it because we have rain coming in, and it is going to be heavy at times with this front moving through, and 29 will feel like 36, so a hot and steamy day tomorrow. And then some thunderstorms roll through, dropping us down to 15 tomorrow evening, and then really cool for the weekend and a more seasonable temperatures. Right now, 28 at Pearson, 27 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low 16.
680 News Time, 6:44. Well, Las Vegas is reopening today as casinos and hotels are allowed to operate again, but life not nearly back to normal in Sin City.
At Bellagio, when you go to play blackjack today, you'll be in a sort of plexiglass bubble away from other players and the dealers.
Plexiglass in each of our table games.
Why? CBS and NBC
hand-washing stations are set up on the casino floor, and there is less physical interaction with the staff. Las Vegas says despite the challenges of COVID-19 and now protests, the demand has been higher than expected.
I can't get New York.
EBC News.
I can't get a satellite.
If you've been thinking of getting a backyard garden shed, you should know that DuroShed has been installing sheds in full capacities in the GTA for over 25 years. And DuroShed has social distancing down to a fine art.
So I can put up an antenna.
Will arrive in the morning, work outside all day, and before supper time, you'll have
a beautiful new garden shed. cable.
Storage shed or pool cabana. You
Just
can watch
cable.
from inside while we build
How's
your
it any different than what they're doing?
outside. Check out our photo galleries at duroshed.ca. That's duroshed.ca.
Ontario, you're making
Oh, if
a
I steal
difference to
your
keep
cable
people
from your
safe from
house, it's stealing. If I
COVID-19.
pay
And
for the
we
cable
all need
and
to
I hook up
continue
somebody
our
else,
efforts to
that's
protect
between me
each
and them,
other.
isn't it?
Get tested if you're worried you
That's
may
what
have
you're doing here,
COVID-19
antenna, right?
or
I'm gonna
have been
use my
exposed to the
antenna.
virus. Practice physical distancing. Stay 2 meters
Way
apart.
before I moved in
Wear
here,
face
somebody
covering
tore
when
your
physical
cable.
distancing is a
Fucking what
challenge.
is this
And
much?
continue to wash
The
hands
joint is
frequently,
wider
inside or out.
at this
Stay
end
safe. Save
than how much
lives.
cable is.
Learn more at
I would have tried to repair it, just wanted to repair
ontario.ca/coronavirus.
it.
Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
I don't need it,
This is All News Radio.
but I fixed shit, so.
Well, mostly cloudy sky in
It's an
downtown
antenna
Toronto,
fucking jack
25
over
degrees,
here.
still
Two
feeling
split
like
terminals.
28. Good
Supposed to be an
evening from
antenna
the
on the
680
roof.
News Broadcast Center. I'm Sarah Parrott. Here are the top
Although I
stories
suppose
this hour.
if one of us
The federal
got
government
a
is launching
digital
a new
antenna plugged
advisory
into there,
council to help vulnerable youth in this
should all be able
province
to
overcome
say, hey,
social
there we
and
go.
economic barriers. The premier also announcing
Hopefully we'll get to
$1.5
this
million
TV.
in funding to further support Black communities to help them recover from the impacts of the pandemic. Mourners gathering in Minneapolis this afternoon to say goodbye to George Floyd. It was the first of 3 memorials for the man who died in police custody last week. Meantime, bail hearings have been held for each of the 3 former officers charged with aiding and abetting in Floyd's death. Time now for 680 Sports from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Here's Alex Sixero.
Well, Sarah, simply put, the NBA put their head down and along with the players got the deal done.
I think I can use this to like totally shut up the whole neighborhood's cable.
For various owners, franchises, governors.
They blocked out one channel. I don't know what
the
it
league
is.
as a whole. And the
Somebody
relationship
had to
between
say, oh, they
players
go
and
straight to me, this and that. I don't know.
and the commissioner and the owners. It's
Either blocks out or allows
so you got,
something.
you got trust and you've got a mutual incentive.
The voice of Michael Grange on Writer's Block today. The Board of Governors, by a vote of 29-1, agreed to restart the season July 31st as 22 teams will head to Orlando. Players will be voting on the proposal tomorrow. Some other dates we've learned about: the NBA draft will take place October 15th, and free agency will begin 3 days
anybody
later.
can just grab
Meanwhile,
it.
the
What's the
NHL
old
announced
book
more
there?
details about their 2014 return to play
Anybody
format.
can
The
just get a
play-in
cheap
round
fucking
or
set
the
of glasses
qualifying
at the
round,
dollar store.
where the Leafs will play Columbus, is going to be a best-of-5 series, while the other rounds will stay a best-of-7. And after each round, we will have reseeding. A bracket-style format will not be used. And Saints quarterback Drew Brees has apologized for Wednesday's comments about
we're all
disrespecting
going
the
to go to
flag.
fuck home.
Brees says he completely missed the mark, and it breaks his heart to know the pain he has caused. He says he stands with the Black community in the fight against systemic racial injustice and police brutality. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour, or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
Want to discover this year's most innovative new products? Visit productoftheyear.ca. From the buzziest beauty products and luxe culinary finds to cutting-edge appliances and oh-so-good sweets, thousands of Canadians have voted for the most innovative new products for 2020. The world's largest consumer-voted award for product innovation that recognizes product design, functionality, and packaging. And the products that impressed are yours to behold at productoftheyear.ca. For the past several months, we stayed home. And Alex Anius, we want to thank you for doing your part. Our flooring stores are now open with safety measures to protect you and our employees. We're ready to serve you in-store, at home, online, or by virtual visit at alexanian.com. Our vendors are providing us special reopening discounts, and we're passing them on to you. Now you'll save like never before on all carpet, flooring, and area rugs.
680 News Time, 649.
Happening now, hundreds of people have gathered at Meridian Place in downtown Barrie demanding justice for George Floyd and all victims of police brutality.
Not you, Barrie.
The group gathered at Barrie City Hall earlier this afternoon and marched through downtown streets. A similar protest was held in Oakville earlier this afternoon. That's how hundreds of people marched demanding justice for Black lives. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is speaking out about the ongoing protests across the U.S. and seemingly calling out U.S. President Donald Trump.
Arizona leader at this time. Future politician Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson posted a passionate video seen by millions, apparently asking questions of President Trump, though he never says his name.
Surprised
how people in pain would respond.
Already tried
when
to
you
look.
say to them, I care about you.
And he says, well, he knows that all lives matter.
But in this moment right now, this defining, pivotal, explosive moment where our country is down on its knees, in this moment, we must say the words, Black Lives Matter.
Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
680 News Time, 6:50. Well, job cuts, they are on the way at Bombardier. Let's get the details from 680's Richard Southern.
The company says it's temporarily laying off 196 employees here in the GTA working on Bombardier's transit services, building trains for GO Transit and for the Union Pearson Express.
They don't do that right in
Bombardier says
you don't see the
job
train.
cuts effective June 21st amount to about 20%
The new
of its workforce. Bombardier points out that ridership has dropped 90% due to the pandemic, prompting a reduction in the amount of trains and services that regional transit authorities need. Richard Southern, 680 News.
680 News Time, 6:51.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones, brought to you by 407 ATR, Airborne and Chopper 680. Here's Jordan Kerr.
401 in Toronto is in good shape right now, but east of Toronto and the east end of the GTA, some issues and a number of ramps are closed down. First of all, the eastbound 401 ramp to Stevenson is closed because of a serious crash. It's causing a delay from approaching Stevenson, so the delay is improving.
Try and stop me from falling down and help me get out. Help me get out. Do that. Man, make sure nobody fucking touches me in case I fucking just fall out.
And the 418 are shut down.
The babysitter dog.
401 ramps to the 418 and Curtis Road are also closed off once again this evening due to construction. The whole road ramps to the west 401 are closed as well. Once you're in the Toronto area, westbound 401 in great shape, and into Mississauga and into Milton as well. The 680 traffic center.
Everywhere now, you can't take it away from me now.
On the eastbound 403 east of Erin Mills Parkway, right lane still blocked by crews as they deal with crash cleanup. Transport truck involved in this collision, so no delay through here, but that right lane is blocked. And then we have this heavy jam up on the southbound 400 heading towards Aurora Road. It's actually heavy from Highway 9 down to Aurora Road, where the highway is reduced to a single lane. We have two left lanes blocked here for construction. The ramp to Aurora Road is also closed for long-term maintenance, and they're just starting to set up the same construction on the northbound 400 heading through Aurora Road. It'll be two left lanes blocked northbound as well. So far, no delay in the northbound direction, but we'll keep an eye on that in case one does develop. 407 ATR is proud to be United Way's first corporate partner in Canada to make a multi-year investment, sending $4 million to help the GTHA recover from COVID-19. Your next report at 7:01, and with the extended forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
Thanks, Kyle. And temperatures tonight dropping to 24 during the evening, 16 during the overnight. Tomorrow, some sun, and then the clouds roll in. Afternoon rain showers, thunderstorms are possible by the evening, and some could really be severe. We could have anywhere between 5 to 8 millimeters of rain from that. And 29 is the high, more humid, and it will feel like 36. But the evening's better. We drop down to 15 degrees Saturday and Sunday. Just stunning days. 23 on Saturday, 20 on Sunday, so a bit cooler, but more comfortable with lots of sunshine. 28 degrees now in Pearson, 27 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low, 16.
This extended forecast is brought to you by Walmart.
Now at Walmart, save $1.50 on a jar of Miracle Whip or Heinz mayonnaise. Now only $2.47. That's another reason why grocery bills are lower at Walmart.
Your roof sprung a leak. Water came through, shorted out the furnace, the radiator too.
When emergencies happen, get a loan that's way cheaper than a payday loan, with approval in minutes.
If you need money in a hurry, prudentfinancial.net.
Whether you want to consolidate bills, emergency repairs, it's up to you. Get approval in minutes. When you own your car or home, get a loan. Borrow up to $50,000. Money when you need it most from Prudent Financial. Click for details today.
I'm skinny as fuck.
680 News Time, 6:54. This news segment brought to you by the Herzig Eye Institute. The federal government releasing new COVID-19 projections that show progress in the fight against the virus, but we're not out of the woods just yet.
COVID-19 is very much a regional pandemic. While many provinces have shown steep declines in cases or have virtually halted the spread, Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Teresa Tam says that's not the case everywhere.
Quebec and Ontario. the Toronto and Montreal areas.
Our death toll could hit 9,400 by June 15th. Dr. Tam warns there are still serious risks no matter where you are, noting if we lift restrictions too much or too quickly, Canada could see a second wave in the fall, dramatically worse in the spring. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister says on the week of July 6th, seniors will receive a special one-time payment of up to $500 to help them deal with rising costs in this pandemic.
Why do they get their money last when this shit's killing them fast?
The possibility of cutting police funding in order to pay for programs and supports for marginalized communities.
There are many different paths towards making a better country.
But on multiple questions of why he's not denouncing the comments and actions of President Donald Trump for what we're seeing in the U.S., Trudeau says he'll stand up for Canadian interests and values, but still doesn't name Trump. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
680 News Time, 6:55.
Hi, I'm Sherry Tabb, co-founder of the Herzig Eye Institute. Our eyes play such an important role in the spread and prevention of COVID-19. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Wash your hands often and be vigilant about cleaning door handles and other surfaces that are touched frequently. If you wear contact lenses, consider wearing your glasses. Your health is what matters most to us.
Once the contacts are in, you shouldn't have to touch them again. But you're always
so we can stay connected.
You're always
Look after yourself. Promise me.
I know, because I used to wear them, motherfucker. Why
the rest, that's why I call them. You can leave me alone if you don't want problems. Me and my natives, yeah, we always gotta solve some good that means so we can even get about the day. I'ma ride, I'ma die, I'ma do it for my natives. I'ma ride for my motherfucking natives. Like me, I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives, and I ain't going in unless I fit my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my 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 motherfucking native. Running for my natives for the duration of my life. The reservation is the place I want to rise. So you better recognize I'm not stopping till I cock until my day of expiration and they hit my end of time. It's one of the expectations that I'm gonna live.
About the 2 beef fest, I went to go buy this. Straight to the machine.
I've been grinding outside all day with my natives, and I ain't going in unless I fit my native, my native, my native, my native, my native, my native, my motherfucking native, my 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 motherfucking native.
They're spicy. And I noticed something. Those non-spicy ones have some sort of sweet taste to them or something. I don't remember that meaning. There's nothing sweet in the spicy ones.
Similar move by airlines here in Canada. Air Canada stock, though, flying on.
Canada's $19.42. They were just able to fucking sell it all in fucking
Shorty wanna talk for the night, for a talk for this life. I feel I never want to shit down for the dope. I got like this, see my nigga ain't just this shut. I'm black and crack, same sex, but I'm broke with my closest things that move left. Still mother ain't the pulse of my block and protect. Like what's next? All I see is money in my vision. Homie, I take pictures when I'm spitting in, that nigga's different. We can never be the same niggas since you tryna blame it on niggas like what it's changed. I'm in the Gucci belt, niggas all packing my name is gon' hurt. When I'm not grand, the niggas can bring it to stop. To be better everything. I got a pack of 4 things a nigga tryna stuck and I leave him with a dog. I just think goes for the dog.
Sticky on my niggas rather with me, I be feeling trippy blowing in the wind. And shorty wanna fuck for the night, pour a cup for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, I be taking risks. I make a people out of that go hard.
A new council on equality. The leader of that council says no, it's not
CNN to tell us that there is a problem.
Mourners gather in This is just one of many memorial services planned in major cities across the U.S.
Police Chief Mark Saunders says what happened to George Floyd wouldn't happen in this city.
This organization does not train to this.
As he addressed systemic racism in Toronto.
A new city program is helping restaurants open and expand their patios while the province lifts restrictions on short-term rentals.
The police chief. Maybe. I don't know. I might be mentally ill from all the beatings I take for these cops.
Test positive for COVID-19.
Oh, we didn't. Then you say I tried to do it. You tried to fuck it in. Make up your mind, bro. What's the fucking story?
Markets were pulled in different directions today. The TSX down, Dow up business at 26.
680 News Time, 7:01.
That's time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Checking that time tonight. Here's Ken Hawking.
This report brought to you by City TV. The only really heavy spot on the highways is on the southbound 400. It's slow from Highway 9 down to Aurora Road. We have 2 left lanes blocked here for construction, and the ramp to Aurora Road is also closed because of maintenance. That's a long-term closure, so if you're traveling that southbound 400, it might even be worth exiting at Highway 9 and using Weston or Jane as alternates to get you down, from south of Aurora Road, maybe even down towards King Road, and that's where you can rejoin the highway, just to avoid that heavy jam up. And if you're traveling along the rest of the major routes, not bad right now. Speeds are pretty good. We have this closure of the eastbound 401 ramp to Stevenson. That's because of a collision on the ramp. So the East 401 ramp to Stevenson Road in Oshawa is closed. Now, on the westbound 401, there is a minor problem west of Dufferin in the collectors. Left lane's blocked by crews with a stone vehicle here just being hooked up to a tow right now, but not much of a delay there. And finally, that long-standing issue on the eastbound 403 east of Erin Mills Parkway, collision there is finally clear. We still have delays on Bayview in Richmond Hill. That's heavy, especially southbound. Southbound Bayview between Highway 7 and 16th Avenue. Single-lane construction in both directions, but it's much heavier southbound than it is northbound here. Breakfast Television is here to start your day with all the COVID-19 information you need, plus the BT gang you know and love. We're all in this together. BT, weekdays at 5:30, only on City TV. Next report at 7:11, and with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
And we continue to cool down in the GTA, headed down to 24 for an evening temperature. Will hang up there. 16 is the overnight low, and then it's hot and humid tomorrow. 29 is the high temperature. It will feel more like 36 thanks to that southerly wind that's going to really boost us into the upper 20s. Possibly some areas hitting 30 degrees, and then we do have rain and thunderstorms headed our way tomorrow evening. And right now it's 28 at Pearson, 27 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low 16.
680 News Time, 7:03.
The Ford government is pledging to support Ontario's Black communities recover from the impacts of coronavirus, and the province is also creating a new council that will help vulnerable youth.
680's Mark Douglas joins us with more from the Premier's announcement today.
Premier Doug Ford announces the Council on Equality of Opportunity, and along with it, $1.5 million in funding for organizations that support Black families and youth. Chair of that new council is Jamil Javani. Javani says, yes, there is racial tension these days between Black communities and the police.
I think the term distrust is a great way to frame the state of the relationship.
But no, this announcement is not coming just because of all the demonstrations in the U.S., Toronto, and through Ontario.
You're not waiting for CNN to tell us that there is a problem.
We've been working on these issues for months.
And the Premier denies any connection in the timing of the announcements to the controversy this week about him saying Ontario does not have deep-rooted systemic racism like the U.S. does. The chair of the opposition NDP's Black Caucus, NDP Lord May Lindo, says after all, the Ford government...
He's a white guy from the fucking hood. Like, he embodies what the fuck we're talking about. You're still trying to make it look like he's the enemy.
I'm Mark Douglas.
Well, happening right now in the U.S., thousands of people have once again taken to the streets in cities across that country.
They're like, oh, look at him, he's drunk and talking like a Jamaican.
Large groups continue to march in New York City, Washington, and Los Angeles after memorials were held in remembrance of Floyd. In Minneapolis today, family and friends, along with that community,
what he's saying is actually correct. Somebody has
remember
spoken
and
this
say
to him
goodbye to the 46-year-old. Our Phil Martino following all the happenings in the U.S. and joins us live now with more on today's
Jamaican. That's why he talks like a Jamaican.
Steve, members of
That's
George
fucking
Floyd's
crazy,
family,
like, that's just,
friends, and other mourners
well, you're
celebrated his
down
life
and out.
inside
If you hung out with Jamaicans, you would know that's
Central
probably why you talk that way.
University.
So you don't
His
hang out with
nephew,
Jamaicans,
Brandon
do
Williams,
you?
was
He's
among
racist.
those who
This guy's
eulogized the 46-year-old. He says Floyd was a father figure.
I don't think Dougie said you were going to misinterpret
I
it.
just
You said
remember
so badly.
just all of
There's
the
no
memories,
racism
man.
there. That's not what he
More
said.
than anything, I just want to say thank
You asked
you
him
to
why the
him,
niggas weren't riding in the
just for being
street.
there, just being a real, genuine person, just being loving and caring, and somebody I can count on no matter what.
Civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton said in his eulogy, "It's time for us to stand up in George's name and say, get your knee off our necks."
Dutch people.
Talking about make America great.
See the U.S. is like, okay, I
For who and great when? We gonna make America great for everybody for the first time.
Memorials are set to take place in 3 cities over 6 days. Next, Floyd's body will go to Rayford, North Carolina, where he was born, for a public viewing and a private family service on Saturday. Meantime, a judge has set bail at $750,000 each for 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with aiding and abetting in connection with the death of Floyd. They make their first appearances earlier this afternoon. The Minneapolis Police Department fired them last week. They were arrested yesterday. Phil Martino, 680 News. A trio of protests in the GTA saw hundreds of people march for justice for Black Lives this afternoon. More than 300 marched through downtown Oakville earlier today in solidarity with the protests being held all around the world. Hundreds more came out to a demonstration hours later in downtown Barrie, as well as in Burlington, where they marched to City Hall.
Well, Toronto's police chief says the time for incremental change is over, and that his organization now committed to restoring public trust in the wake of recent events. Our Asher Roth joining us live now with more on what else the chief had to say. Asher?
Steve, Chief Mark Saunders addressed recent events both here and south of the border, saying what happened to George Floyd still bothers him and that it's not what his officers are trained to do.
That is not what law enforcement is trained to do. We're there to preserve life. We're there to enhance community safety.
Saunders said the fact that the incident in Minneapolis was videotaped highlights the need for police in Toronto to wear body cameras, something that he says he supports. The chief also discussed public distrust in the police in his city, saying he is committed to working with the community to regain it.
Looking at our procedures, looking at our regulations, looking at how we train, and using a racialized lens to figure out how it can be improved.
As for growing questions about the ballooning police budget, which has now exceeded $1 billion, Saunders says he'll communicate with the community on ways to reduce it without compromising the delivery of the services that the police force provides. Reporting live, Asher Ron, 680 News.
To Georgia now, where the case against 3 white men charged with the murder of a black jogger will go to trial. A judge has ruled there is enough evidence for the cases against Greg and Travis McMichael and William Ryan to succeed. 3 are charged with the felony murder of Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot and killed after being chased down by 2 pickup trucks while he was out on a run in February.
Ontario reporting 356 new cases of COVID-19 today, and that's a small bump over the previous day. It comes as the city of Toronto reveals a plan to let restaurants and bars expand their patios once approval is finally granted.
Cafe TO, that's the name of the new program promoting restaurants and bars to open or expand their existing patios onto streets and sidewalks.
We want to make sure the city and that the individual bar and restaurant owners are ready to proceed with these expanded patio offerings. just as soon as we're able to do so.
Mayor John Tory says these patios will come without the usual city fees, adding there's been progress made with the Ford government on cutting red tape around liquor laws to make this easier.
We've had to be engaged in active discussions with the province, and those are largely resolved.
When all this will happen, still unknown. The Ford government saying within the next week they'll have a timeline on regional reopening and entering stage 2, but more restrictions are lifting as of midnight, allowing short-term rentals for things like cottages, homes, and B&Bs to operate as normal. I'm Stuart McGinn.
And now the 680 News gas price update. And Pro is predicting the price of gas will not change at midnight. It's going to stay put at 97.9 cents a liter.
Coronavirus updates and breaking news.
All on the Be the First to Know newsletter.
Sign up now at 680news.com/newsletters. Now on CBC Gem.
We used to
want to drink what's left of the coffee.
Sally Rooney's best-selling novel.
Don't tell anybody it's good.
I talked to him. That's good.
A series that critics are calling both epic and intimate.
Oh, what's it called? What's this crazy new sensation?
And a triumph in every way.
I did used to think that I could read your mind at times. I don't know, maybe that's normal.
It's not.
Normal people.
Oh, what a strange concept.
CBC Gem.
680 News Time, 7-Eleven.
Sound down for traffic and the weather together on one. Here's Kyle Hawking.
This report brought to you by mymuskokacottages.com. It's